Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the MHA What If, with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Deku became a demon slayer. All credits for this video go to their respective authors. So please support the real author. Check out the link in the description for more details. Please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Izuku Midoriya was reminded that this world was not fair. That not all men are created equal. It was a normal day for a 12-year-old. Izuku got out of bed, went to school and tried to keep his head down so no one would notice him, especially the explosive star of his school, Katsuki Bakugo. He was by no means proper hero material, just a kid who got lucky and born with an incredible quirk that made everyone around him feed his ego. Though after school Izuku could work on his hero journals and find hero activity around town. Today was good. He was able to see the new hero Hawks in action taking on a man who was a giant puffer fish. Izuku was amazed at how Hawks was able to maneuver around Puffer's spikes. Izuku was on his way a few blocks down where he heard Death Ems was fighting a bear man, when he heard something near the park. "What did you think you were better than me?" screamed the master of ego, Katsuki Bakugo. Izuku saw him and his cronies standing above a group of kids from another school in the middle of the park. Bakugo stopped, yelled Izuku, earning the explosive user's glare. "I'm sorry, did you say something, Deku?" said Bakugo, sporting a mad grin at seeing his favorite punching bag. Izuku began sweating. "Yo, you can't beat up people, Kachin. It isn't becoming of a hero," he said nervously while trying to look for a way out of the situation. Bakugo began to march straight up to Izuku while a sinking feeling began to take a hold of him as he knew what was about to come next. Izuku began to block out Bakugo rant about him just showing so and so how much better he was. Izuku had heard all of this before he had grown up with Bakugo, all the way from when they were friends until now. Izuku didn't try anything as he already knew that the cronies had already blocked his escape, like they did whenever someone tried to pick a fight with Bakugo. "Well, aren't you gonna say something, you damn nerd?" "Well, DKU." Whether it was the constant taunts or if it was Izuku knowing nothing could change what was about to happen, Izuku looked back at Bakugo with a hard glare and calmly stated, "You will never be a hero, not because you're weak, but because no one will accept a hero who acts like you." This caught everyone by surprise, and the glare just made Bakugo's blood boil to a point Izuku could say that was the worst beating he had ever received from Bakugo. He eventually left with cronies after leaving Izuku on the ground, angered that Izuku would ever say someone as great as him would never be a hero. "I'll show that useless nerd when I become the #1 hero. He'll see when everyone sees how great I am," thought Bakugo as he left Izuku on the ground. Izuku laid there on the ground for what felt like hours, wondering what he was going to do. "If I don't stand up to him, how am I going to be a hero? Maybe I should just give up," he thought. "These are some good notes," thought Izuku as he looked up and saw someone sitting near him reading his notes. Izuku slowly got up and got a better look at the newcomer. It was a man with blackish burgundy hair with a scar on the left side of his forehead, with Hanafuda earrings on his ears. He was dressed old-fashioned, real old-fashioned, in a green checkered haori with some kind of uniform underneath. Izuku could tell he was quite athletic, maybe a hero in training perhaps. Who are you?" "Oh, I'm sorry, I saw you laying there while I was out for a walk. When I came to see if you were okay, I saw your notes here on the ground next to you and couldn't help myself. These are fantastic. You got some great analytical skills and a good pair of eyes," the man said with a sunny smile. For a moment Izuku could have sworn he was on a clear lake. When the man smiled, it was so honest and pure. Thanks mister," said Izuku as he got and started to pick up his things. "I should be going now. You want to be a hero, don't you?" Izuku turned to see the man looking at him. It wasn't a cold glare. It was as if the man was waiting for Izuku to do something, but he wasn't sure what. "Yes, more than anything," he stated with an amount of confidence that even surprised him. "You want fame and fortune?" "No, I want to save people. I want to save people," with a smile on my face like All Might. Even though he had just been beaten, Izuku became more determined than ever to be a hero. "Do you think you can be a hero as you are now?" Reality was cruel. Izuku knew that he was born quirkless and was too weak to even stand up to someone he thought of as a friend. "Some people are more lucky than others," said the man as he stood up. "Some people are born with people who are willing to train them, or with talent that allows them to excel more than others, or in that boy's case he was born with a great quirk. Though it definitely hasn't done him any good for personality, that for sure." "Wait, you saw that?" Izuku had just assumed that he came after. To close such gaps, people need the drive and determination to become better despite their circumstances. The man bent down a little to look Izuku in the eyes. "Do you think you have what it takes to pursue your dreams?" Izuku looked down for a moment before meeting the man's eyes again. "As I am right now, I can't, but that won't stop me. I will work hard and I will get strong enough so I can save people," with a smile on my face. The man gave another sunny smile. "Good answer. Then we will begin right now." "What? There's no better time to start than the present," the man said as he took a few steps away before stopping and taking a deep breath. "A good run should be a good start for your training." "Training?" Izuku was confused. Even though he had just met this man, he was slowly jogging after him. He didn't know why, but for some reason he could tell this man honest and trustworthy. And Izuku couldn't argue. If he wanted to pursue his dreams, he needed to start training to cover the gap. Izuku then quickly caught up to the man. What are you gonna huff train me? Huff. Who are you? I guess you could say a hero of old. Huh. Pay attention. Use your eyes and pay attention to my breathing. Focus on the breathing and try to mimic it. Izuku was confused and ready to call it quits until he tried to breathe like the man. Lucky it was still early spring and he could see the man's breath in the chilled air. Izuku didn't know what he expected, but when he tried to breathe like the man, running became easier. Incredible, so that he felt like he could have run for hours, maybe even days. They both kept running for a while. Izuku didn't know he had lost track of time and just tried to keep up the breathing technique. Before he knew it, they came to the bottom of the mountain. When they stopped, Izuku was huffing and puffing and felt like he would collapse at any moment, but when he looked over at the man, he saw that he was perfectly fine, as if their massive run was nothing more than a walk down a city block. If anything, this just made Izuku even more curious about this mysterious man. Hey, huff your huff quirk. Oh, I don't have a quirk. Izuku shot up, looking at the man in shock, and were at the bottom of a mountain. They ran all the way here from a city park in Mustafa, which was in the middle of the city, and Mustafa wasn't anywhere close to a mountain. They must have ran 20 miles to get here. Wait a minute, we're miles away from the city. We ran here. I ran here. Izuku was surprised at his own sudden realization on how far he just ran, but the man in front looked like he made this run daily. Now Izuku was sure he could learn something incredible from this man. Maybe even something that could make up for his lack of a quirk. He now saw this man as his ticket to become a hero. Over here, said the man as he walked to what looked like a small shack. You can put your backpack in here. What exactly are we doing now? Said Izuku as he slowly made his way to the shack before the man put his hand up, signaling for Izuku to stop. This, in a way you can say, is the point of no return. If you put your bags down and follow me up this mountain, you will begin a test that will push you to your limits, and I warn you, this test can be fatal and there is a very high chance you will get hurt. The man paused for a moment to let his words sink in, though to his surprise the boy in front of him had a determined look. Though if you pass this test you will be trained and will be one step closer to becoming a hero. Do you accept this challenge? Izuku's look of determination didn't falter. He walked towards the small shack and put his bag inside. I accept your challenge. Then follow me, said the man as he began to walk up the mountain. I'll admit I'm a bit surprised at how little hesitation you had to accept this test. Well, it's like you said, I need to be ready to put my life on the line if I want to be a hero, and I'm already rather behind than a lot of kids my age, so I need to work several times harder to make up for it. Is that all? No, I need to do this. I need to prove to myself that I can become a hero, and in less than a day you have already taught me so much. That breathing technique alone will help a lot during long nights while I'm on patrol. That's a good one to remember, but you're going to need a bit more to pass this test. You're going to need to use everything I've told you today and everything you've learned from those heroes and what you've gained from that explosive boy from earlier. Izuku was a bit confused about what he had gained from Bakugo that could help him. He was about to ask when he noticed that the fog began to cover that mountain and air was beginning to get real thin. It was getting hard to breathe. Do not worry, I used to walk up this mountain daily as part of my training when I was your age. I know this place by heart. The man stopped dead in his tracks. Prepare yourself, Izuku Midoriya, your test is about to begin. Right, wait, when did I tell you my name now that I think about it? We never did introduce ourselves. How do you know my name? The man ignored Izuku's question. We are near the top of Mount Sejiri. To pass this test, Izuku, your goal will be to get back down to the bottom of the mountain before sunrise. If you do this, then you pass. Good luck, said the man before he was enveloped by the fog and disappeared. Wait, he said it's sunrise. What time is it? Izuku yelled before turning around and rushing down the mountain. Mom is going to freak out when she was all Izuku could say before he felt his foot hit a wire. And by the time he processed the wire, a small boulder was launched right at him. Izuku was able to dodge the boulder. Flick! Izuku hit the ground as several shurikens impaled the tree right behind him. He isn't pulling his punches. I could really die here. How am I supposed to get out of this? The fog is so thick I can only see a few feet in front of me. That's when the man's words echoed in his head. All the things I've learned. Calm down, Izuku. Try breathing. Once Izuku calmed down a little, he took a few steps down the mountain. Then he noticed how odd the ground was in front of him. He kicked a rock only for it to fall into a pitfall. I was lucky I was able to notice that. Wait a minute. Izuku brought a hand to his face. My eyes. He mentioned how well I noticed details. I just need to look out for anything that's too out of place, he thought as he moved around the pitfall. But if I keep going at this pace, I'll never make it down in time. Izuku sprinted down the mountain. A hero wouldn't hesitate. Hesitating could cost lives and even cost me my own life, he thought as he dodged another rock and then jumped over a wire. My reflexes are better than I thought. When could I react so quickly? So this is what he meant by Kachin giving me something. I've been dodging Kachin for so long my reflexes are better than most. Izuku's confidence grew as he sidestepped a group of blades. Alright, let's do this. Oh, Izuku was able to make it to the bottom of the mountain as the glow of the sun was on the horizon. He was so exhausted he could tell he was going to lose consciousness. He was able to make it to the walls of the shack where he put his bag. He leaned against the wall and slowly slid down the side. He was covered from head to toe with dirt and small wounds all over his body. He had aches and pains that he knew would last days before he would be able to move properly again. You made congrats. Izuku's vision was becoming spotty. He could barely make out the man as he walked towards him. Don't worry, none of your wounds are life-threatening, and I have a friend that can fix you right up. The man kneeled down to take a closer look at Izuku. I'm sorry, nowadays such form of training wouldn't be accepted, but if you're going to become strong enough to reach your goal of becoming a pro hero, then I'm afraid this was necessary. Are you going to train me? Izuku was slightly afraid of his answer. He would like a good rest before he tried anything else, though his worries washed away as he saw the man have such a sad look in his eyes. Don't worry, you will be trained, but not by me. This was definitely a confusing day for Izuku. Looking back, he was beginning to wonder if he was sane following this man. Do not worry, Izuku, you are quite sane. What? And no, I'm not reading your mind. This was the only way I could help you. For you see, I don't have long for this world. Izuku could only stare at this man. He may not have known him for a very long, but even he could tell this day has changed his life for the better. He could actually see himself becoming stronger. He could see himself standing up to Bakugo. He could see himself becoming a hero. You're dying. The man gave Izuku a bright sunny smile before slowly taking his Hanafuda earrings off before placing them into Izuku's hands. I can tell you are the right choice with these. There is no way he'll say no to training you. Don't give up. Follow your dreams. Become a hero. I know you can. Before the man could stand, Izuku grabbed his arm with his open hand. Wait, what's your name? Ta-ta, Tanjiro said a voice, but it came from neither the man nor from Izuku. Izuku looked to see a pale teenage boy in a white kimono staring in shock at the man in green. Hello Yushiro, it's good to see you again. Tanjiro, Kamado Tanjiro. The pale boy visible shaking. Tanjiro, Izuku repeated. Yes, that is my name, said the now named Tanjiro before turning to Yushiro. Yushiro, I would like to watch over this boy and train him. He wishes to be a pro hero someday, so please train him well. Izuku knew now he was losing his battle to stay awake because Tanjiro looked like he was slowly fading away. Tanjiro, what's going on? Don't worry, Izuku. You're in great hands. I trust Yushiro with my life. He will make you into a pillar in no time. He said this when he suddenly became see-through. And Yushiro, this boy is very talented. He will make a fine warrior someday. Izuku could no longer see Tanjiro, and before he lost consciousness, Tanjiro said one last thing to him. Welcome to the Demon Slayer Corp. Izuku didn't know how but found himself in total darkness. He couldn't see anything or hear anything. It was as if all of his senses were somehow being numbed. All Izuku could do was keep walking, and he did until he saw something in the far distance. A light that seemed to be far away. As Izuku walked closer to the light, he began to hear a rhythm of a drum that slowly got louder as he got closer to the light. Soon he could feel the light breeze on his skin and could smell something burning. He could even somehow taste the light itself. Before Izuku could think on how he knew that what he was tasting was the light, he finally got close enough to see what it was. It was a masked man dancing in a circle of torches. The dance mesmerized Izuku. As the man continued to dance, Izuku could see the beauty of his movements. He could smell the scent of the dance, feel the breeze dance was making on his skin. He could hear the rhythm of the movements and even taste it as if Izuku was the one that was dancing. Flickering at the edge of Izuku's vision made Izuku look away from the man to see another circle of touches exactly the same as the other one. Izuku walked into the new circle as he too wanted to try the dance he saw. Izuku watched the man for a moment before trying his best to mimic the man's moves. Izuku fumbled a bit from either moving out of sync or also trying to simultaneously try to dance and watch at the same time. Though after a few tries he began to get the hang of it. As Izuku began to dance, his movements became more fluid and he began to tune the other dancer out. He continued this, and as he did he could feel his senses grow stronger with each movement he made until the world became clear. The world was no longer dark as he could see the mountains around him, hear the animals, smell the grass, feel each movement in the air, and taste the morning air. He didn't dare stop yet. He kept moving, increasing his pace until it seemed that the world was see-through, not until each breath looked as solid as a rock. Before Izuku realized his body was on fire, though not regular fire. It was as if Izuku's body was the sun itself. He was filling the world with light so bright he was shining more than the sun. Then he suddenly realized he actually stopped dancing. He looked around a bit and then noticed the man had stopped dancing himself and was looking right at him. Did I do this? The man brought his hand to the mask. Yes, you did, Izuku, revealing himself to be Tanjiro. Tanjiro. Izuku stood there for a moment, not really sure what to say. He was angry at him for the mountain death traps and for being way too cryptic than was necessary. But he was thankful as well. He didn't know exactly why, but he knew he had just experienced something no one else has and that this experience will be the key for him moving forward. So he decided to ask the only thing that he could think of. Why show me, of all people, this? Tanjiro gave him a look of confusion. I'm nobody, I'm not strong, I'm not fast, and I don't have a quirk. So why do this for me? Izuku, do you really think anyone can do what you just did? I'll admit some people could do this, but it would take years, maybe even decades to do this with serious dedication, and you were able to pull it off in one evening. You were able to shine as bright as the sun, and you can do that for the whole world to see. What did I just do exactly? Was it a quirk of some kind? Cause all of my senses just became heightened to the point I could tell what was inside things very far away, and that alone could have several applications for search and rescue or even training, and by that extension, could even help in several fights or even mumble. As Izuku carried on, Tanjiro could only smile at the boy who would change the world. I'm sorry, I wish I could tell you more about the breath of sun and the other breathing styles. Tanjiro raised his hand to stop Izuku from asking why. I can't help you though, Yushiro can. He'll explain and answer all of your questions and more. I just hope he has matured more than how I had left all those years ago. Though I don't know if he has moved on from Tameo yet. Tameo, the loved one he had lost so long ago. Tanjiro said with a sad face. She was a good friend. Izuku was going to say his condolences, though Tanjiro cut him off with a sunny smile. Either way, I wish you luck in your journey, Izuku. May your dreams bring you great joy. It's time to wake up. Oh, Izuku opened his eyes and realized something immediately. This wasn't his bed. As Izuku got up, he also felt how sore his body was and that someone changed his clothes for him as he was wearing a light green sleeping robe. He looked around and saw what he assumed was the inside of an old-fashioned Japanese house. Seeing no point in just laying there, Izuku got up and made his way to the door. As he exited the room, he came face to face with a girl. She had dark hair and a ponytail. She had brown eyes and looked, or as Izuku would guess, was a few years older than him, so maybe around 17 or 18 years old. She was wearing a purple flower pattern kimono and was holding a tray with a tea kettle. "While you're awake, my master has been wondering when you would wake up," she said in a neutral tone. Izuku had no idea how to respond since no girl had ever really talked to him before, and he didn't know what to do. "Please follow me," was all she said as she passed him and continued down the hall. Izuku, not knowing what else to do, decided to follow her. They made their way to an above-average living room area that opened up looking down the mountain. In the center of the room sat the pale boy in the white kimono that Izuku remembered before he had lost consciousness. He was currently sitting at a small table looking at a tablet. As they entered, the boy looked up to see them. "You're awake, that's good. My name is Yushiro. Please have a seat, we have much to discuss." "Oh, okay," as Izuku sat across from Yushiro, not really knowing what he had gotten himself into. They sat in silence for a moment as they looked at each other, wondering what to expect from the other as the girl began to serve them both tea. Izuku thanked the girl as he began to drink the tea. "I have many questions for you, young man, but the first would be, who are you?" said Yushiro, breaking the silence. "Oh, my name is Izuku Midoriya. Thank you for taking care of me while I was out of it." "Yes, speaking of you collapsing at the bottom of the mountain, what were you doing there and why did you have these?" he said, putting the Hanafuda earrings on the table. "Oh, Mr. Tanjiro gave me those." Yushio and the girl froze in place with a look of shock on their face as the room grew uncomfortable as the silence grew. The girl recovered first as her shock turned to anger as a knife suddenly appeared in her hand. "Don't play with us, boy. Do you really take us for fools?" she yelled, pointing the blade at Izuku. "Whoa, wait, I'm telling the truth, he saw him too," pointing to Yushiro. "Tomo, stop and put that knife down right now. He is our guest until I say otherwise." "Yes, master," she said, suddenly putting the knife down on the table, losing all of her anger. Yushiro gave her a look to make sure she wouldn't do anything before looking at a frightened Izuku. "I apologize for Tomo. She can jump the gun at times, and yes, I saw what I saw when I found you, but I would like you to tell your part. Now how about you explain everything from the beginning?" Izuku then began to explain everything from how he first met Tanjiro to his gauntlet of death down the mountain. He even told them about his dream he had. He had no idea how they were going to react. By the end of his tale, Izuku could tell they were processing this information differently. Tomo gave a look at Izuku that said she didn't believe him, but she gave Yushiro a look of concern as he was thinking very deeply about this information. Yushiro was in deep thought until finally he stood up from where he was sitting. "Please wait here for a moment. I need to grab a few things." As he left the room, leaving Izuku with Tomo. Could it be possible for me to make a phone call? My mom is probably worried I've been gone for a whole night," said Izuku, worried his mom hasn't melted down yet. That may be a little harder than you might think," she said, giving him a one-eyed look. "For starters, I guess I should mention you've been out for 4 days. What, his mom was beyond melted by now. Izuku fell down just at the thought of her crying. "Oh man, she is going to freak out. How am I going to explain this one?" You okay?" she asked. Probably shouldn't mention the fact that he somehow stumbled on a government secret just yet, and his chances of seeing his mom again are getting a little slim. Oh well, no skin off my back, she thought as Izuku wept. As long as he doesn't do anything to Master Yushiro, he'll live a little longer. As she simply drank her tea, the door slid open, revealing Yushio holding a picture frame and a bucket. I'm sorry for keeping you waiting. He looked to see Izuku sobbing on the ground. Is he alright? I may have mentioned that he's actually been out for 4 days and he didn't take it so well. Midoriya, I need you to take a look at this, he said as he put the picture frame in front of Izuku. Izuku looked up at the picture. It was an old black and white photo, and even though the picture itself wasn't the best quality Izuku could make out, one of the faces is that Mr. Tanjiro. When was this taken? Over 400 years ago. What? No way, said Izuku. Looked at him in disbelief. That's impossible. The first quirk ever recorded was 240 years ago. There's no way he's still alive today if this picture is that old. He isn't alive. He died of old age 400 years ago. I was there when he passed. Izuku could only stare at the supposed teenager in front of him. Even though it sounded impossible, Izuku was slowly piecing things together. Yushiro sounded wise, and even Izuku could feel as if he was older than he looked, as if he has been walking on this earth for years. How old are you? Yushiro simply held the bakken out for Izuku. Come show me the dance you saw in your dream. Izuku took the bakken before he was led outside to a small training area, where he saw a familiar circle of unlit torches. Izuku walked into the circle, and after looking at Yushiro's gaze, Izuku began the dance that he saw in his dream. When Izuku started the dance, he expected himself to just go with the movements. He didn't expect the same levels of feelings to occur as it did in his dream, but it did. As he started to pick up the pace, his senses started to go into overdrive. Izuku kept going faster than it felt as if the bakken he was holding lit on fire. Wait, it is on fire, screamed Izuku as he dropped the flaming bakken before trying to stomp it out. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean for that to happen. How in the world did that even happen in the first place? No way, he heard Tomo yell. Izuku looked over to see both of them in complete awe. You can use the breath of the sun. How in the world can you do that? She yelled in disbelief while Yushiro remained silent. What? Okay, what is the breath of the sun and what exactly did I just do? A little scared but also a little excited. Did he just unlock his quirk? You just used an ancient ability that predates quirks. A power so rare I didn't think I would ever see it again, said Yushiro as he picked up the burnt bakken. Izuku, Midoriya, you have done something that no one else has done in over 100 years. This ability you now possess was instrumental in taking down one of, if not the greatest threat to mankind has ever faced. I am willing to train you and teach you everything about this power and tell you everything, including the origin of quirks and other secrets that very few people in this world know. Do you accept? Izuku stood there stunned for a moment. The amount of information in Yushiro's speech opened his curiosity. And this ability could be the key to his dreams. And these people are the first to ever be willing to help with his dream. I accept. Please teach me. Teach me how to be a hero. Yushiro smiled. I don't know about a hero, but a demon slayer should do just fine. Katsuki Bakugo was having a bad day, mainly because he was currently being suffocated by a giant sludge villain trying to use him as a skin suit. As Bakugo struggled trying to break free from the slime, he saw around him the heroes who were just staring at him, helpless to do anything. He wanted to scream at them for being useless and not doing anything, only to see the destruction his own explosions were making. For some reason it reminded of the past few years. His life flashed before him, the day he got his quirk, the day he announced he would be the #1 hero in the world. Then he remembered the last day he saw his childhood, the guilt he felt when Ms. Midoriya came looking for her son. He clearly saw the sadness in her eyes as she cried for her son, the rage in his own mother's eyes as she told him the amount of damage he has done. It was the first time he remembered her telling him off without actually yelling at all. Then today, when he told everyone he was going to UA, those hypocrites actually tell him off for causing their fellow classmate to run away, or worse, be the cause of his death, when none of them, not even the teachers, did anything to stop him or save Izuku. Now he may die right here. Toshinori Yagi stood there at the back of the crowd watching the scene unfold. The #1 hero in the world. All Might felt useless sitting there having to watch. What kind of hero am I if I can't save a single child? Hey mister, you mind hold this box for a moment? Toshinori looked over his shoulder to see a young man with messy green hair wearing a green hiyori hold out a large wooden box. Without thinking, he grabbed the box and almost dropped under the weight. Wow, hey kid. He then noticed the young man had a katana at his side. Is this kid a hero? No, he's too young to be a hero. Even for one in training, All Might was about to stop him when he disappeared. Everyone in the crowd felt a rush of air as what appeared to be a flash of lightning pass over them, past the heroes and heading right towards the villain. In a split second, Bakugo was ripped from the villain's grasp and was on the ground. Bakugo coughed as he tried to get air into his lungs. He was able to get to steady his breathing and got on his hands and knees trying to get up. Long time no see. Bakugo froze. He looked up to his savior to see the back of a man in green with Hanafuda earrings. The man slowly turned his head towards him. Good to see you again, Bakugo. Deku, you little brat, screamed the villain as he launched himself at Izuku. Izuku calmly began to step forward as he grabbed the hilt of his katana. Form 11, low. For a moment everyone there could have sworn they were on the surface of a calm lake that was pure and undisturbed until a ripple appeared with Izuku at the center. The next thing everyone saw was the villain blown to pieces being scattered across the alleyway. For a moment silence before the crowd erupted in cheers. The kid did it, that was awesome. He blew the monster away. He's strong. No, that was definitely a speed quirk like Samurai X. He didn't blow the villain away, said the hero Death Arms. What do you mean? Asked a fellow hero Mount Lady. Death Arms continued to watch the swordsman as he put his blade back into his shelf. From what I can tell, he sliced the villain so many times the force from all those blows blew him apart. Makes sense, said Kamui Woods. One moment he was just standing there with his sword sheathed and the next it was in his hand and the villain was in pieces. Okay, but what was with the calming lake? She said, noticing the weird look of her coworkers. What? You saw the lake too? It would have something to do with his quirk. Hey, wait, kid, yelled Death Arms as he saw Izuku making his way through the crowd. Toshinori stood there dumbfounded, not sure what to say to the he had to think of something quick as Izuku was approaching. How did you do that? I had an excellent teacher, said Izuku as he took the box from the skeleton. He paused for a moment. You should really retire soon or take it easy. It doesn't look like your body can handle too much anymore. What? How did this kid know about his injuries? Who is this kid? Hold it, kid, you can't just leave yet, yelled Death Arms as he and the other heroes made their way through the crowd. I'm sorry, I need to return to my teacher. Deku, screamed Bakugo, still using that name Hakachin. As he smiled, Izuku took a deep breath before he was suddenly surrounded by mist. Please tell my mother she will have to wait just a bit longer before I can come home, he said as the mist enveloped him. When the mist cleared, he was gone. Oh, after the whole incident with the slime villain and the mysterious appearance of the young swordsman, Bakugo, the heroes and All Might were taken into the police station, where it was revealed to the heroes that the swordsman was a boy who disappeared 2 years ago. Where is my son? Came a scream caused everyone to turn to see a green-haired woman standing in the doorway. Everyone could tell from her eyes she has been crying a lot. Hello, you must be Ms. Midoriya. I'm Detective Naomasa, said the detective as he pulled out a chair for her. Please have a seat. Meow. This sound caught everyone's attention. They all looked to see a cat coming through the door. A cat, said Death Arms. Who let the cat in? Asked Mount Lady. Is it a stray? Kamui Woods growing some branches to grab the cat. Chacha, how'd you get here? Said Inko as she went and picked up the cat. I'm sorry, this is my cat. I don't know how she got here. I left her at home. Maybe she knew that you needed some comfort. Animals will go to great lengths for their owners, said Death Arms with tears as he remembered his loyal dog. Such a brave dog. One that's a cat. Mount Lady poking Death's Arms back to earth. 2. Why were you to use your quirk on the cat? She asked Kamui Woods. Well, about a week ago I helped a child get his cat down from a tree and well, I never owned a cat myself, so that's when I learned how furious they could be, he said, a bit embarrassed. My son, do you know where my son is? She said. Everyone could tell the desperation in her voice. It was apparent that she has been trying to find her son for a very long time. We are doing what we can and we were hoping you could clarify something for us. She nodded. Can you please tell us what your son's quirk? The only files we have here says that your son is quirkless. He is quirkless. He never developed a quirk. What, are you sure, ma'am? We can confirm with several heroes and other eyewitnesses that he moved at super speed, caused a mass hallucination and somehow created a thick mist to get away. My son has never been able to do anything like that. Are you sure we're talking about my Izuku here? Bakugo finally spoke up, confirming it was him, telling her how even though he's changed, he still knew his old nickname. He wanted me to tell you he was sorry and that you will have to wait for him a little longer. Inko began to cry, partly tears of joy and relief knowing her son is still alive, and tears of sadness and pain that he wasn't coming home held her cat as she quietly began crying. Toshinori sat there watching the scene while also glancing at Izuku's file, mainly the part about him being quirkless or was quirkless. The boy did just save his old classmate like a hero, but he knew of a way for someone to get a quirk and he just showed several different ability, and if his theory was correct, then this boy Izuku made a deal with the devil himself. Ms. Midoriya, there was one more thing he did mention before he disappeared, catching their attention. After I gave him his box back, I asked him how he was able to do well whatever he did, and he said he had a great teacher. Do you know what teacher he's talking about? No, my son has never mentioned a teacher or any kind. He was always quiet and an introvert. He didn't really have any friends, said Inko, hoping whoever was this teacher was keeping her little boy safe. The detective saw where All Might's questioning was really. You don't really think this has something to do with him, do you? All for one, he whispered to his friend. I'm not sure. I defeated him years ago, but it's sounding more and more like it by the second. I just can't think of any other way this kid could have gotten multiple quirks. All Might hardened his gaze as the picture of the boy on the wall. It might be too late for him, but I will try and do what I can. But if this is his handiwork and if he is alive, then this boy's vile demon of a teacher may soon know my fist of justice once more. Oh, achoo, sneeze Yushiro. Master, are you all right? You're not getting sick, are you? Said Tomo, overly worried for her master's health. I can't get sick, Tomo, said Yushiro as he continued to read on his tablet. But you sneezed. There are several reasons for someone to sneeze. Not all of them are due to illness. Yushiro-sensei. Tomo-chan, I'm back, Izuku said as he walked into the room. Welcome back, Izuku-kun. Welcome back. Did you get what I asked for? Asked Yushiro as he set down his tablet and grabbed the remote on the table. Yep, as Izuku sat the box down, opening it up to reveal several books. Got them all right here. Perfect, said Yushiro as Tomo asked what the books were. They're old books that once belonged to a family that was a descendant of an old friend of mine, but they were stolen a little over a century ago and the family has long since lost their roots. I'll keep an eye on them for a while and have them restored. After that, I'll most likely give them to a museum. Though it looks like you had an eventful day. Everyone looked at the TV as it showed a recap of today's events. Sorry, Sensei, I know the guy who was in danger and I couldn't just sit by and do nothing, Izuku said as he bowed in apology. Yushiro raised an eyebrow while Tomo began to brought his hand to Izuku and flick him on the head. Izuku, I don't care that you helped out your friend. In fact, I'm quite content with you helping out those heroes. In fact, you will have several opportunities to do so again here in the near future. This got curious looks from his wards. Since I began training you, I've reconnected with several people who are in need of some assistance. The government has been more than hesitate to allow it. By the way, did you ever find out what happened that made them so jumpy about you doing really everything? Asked Tomo. Apparently the one person they don't want anyone to know about got into a really big fight with All Might. That must be how he got injured. That makes sense. I think I meet him today. Did he look like a skeleton with his internal organs in ruin? Yeah, I could just tell that he looked terrible. Is there anything you can do for him? Certainly. The only problem is that I've never met him before. I only knew his predecessor, Nana Shimura. The last time I spoke to her, she told me she passed her quirk to All Might, offered her help then with her quirk and even to watch over her child, but she admitted that I should stay far away from any of them. Even though we were on speaking terms, I could tell that the truth shook her. So I never met All Might, but if given the chance, I wouldn't mind helping him. Don't get too excited, Izuku, you can't just bring him here. We have rules for several reasons, reminded Tomo. So All Might and All for One got into a fight and the government got scared and said you couldn't leave the mountain. They requested I lie low for a while. Tomo, I've told you before, I've learned working with some people is better than working against them or going off and doing things my way, said Yushiro, noticing the slight anger in her voice. Besides, these years gave me an opportunity to teach Izuku, reevaluate the schedule for a few projects, and it gave the government time to quiet things down, to make sure that All for One didn't leave any information about my past that could cause a panic. Izuku couldn't help but agree with the government on that one. He did feel bad for his sensei, but with how he reacted to learning he was an 800-year-old demon and the nightmare origins of quirks, he could only imagine how the populace would react if they learned the truth. It wouldn't be pretty. Though now they are letting up a bit and I have a few people who need help with some very interesting projects that I wouldn't mind taking a look at. So I'm going to need you to be my go-between, either delivering information or making runs for me. And if you so happen to come across a villain or two while you're out, you have my full permission to intervene if you feel the need to. Really, but won't that cause problems? I don't have a license. I mean, I know my abilities isn't a quirk, but I still need a license to do hero work. Tomo began to laugh. Izuku, Master Yushiro knows so many people in the government he could make all your crimes disappear with a simple phone call. I don't know about that, said Yushiro while he drank some tea. Though I can't deny that I do know some people who will more than happily brush any vigilante work you do under the rug. Really? Oh yes. Remember those people who need help with those projects? Izuku nodded. Some of them are also people in the government, and they will happily look the other way for our help. They would be willing to turn the other way for us. Tomo chuckled. Izuku, Master is just being modest. He has several world leaders on speed dial. Heck, at the turn of the 21st century, he owned half of Japan. What, really? No, Tomo. I didn't own half of Japan. I admit I began to invest a lot into real estate, but that had its purposes, and I do admit I know some powerful people, but I don't have them on speed dial. Master, please be honest. If you picked up the phone and asked for Island right now, and I'm not talking about one department, the whole thing right now, and tell us they wouldn't give it to you. Silence. Yushiro couldn't honestly answer. Even he couldn't deny if he wanted to he could have several people eating out of the palm of his hand. See, no way really. Tomo held her head high. Master is well respected throughout the whole world. The amount he has contributed to the world so staggering. They come crawling at the drop of a hat, she said with pride, as Izuku stared in awe. Yushiro sighed. I can't deny I know people, but calm down, Tomo. I wasn't that bad with my lady, was I? He thought. Back to the subject at hand. Are you up to being my running man for a little bit? It will be excellent for training. Of course. Are you sure? Asked Tomo. You're finally able to cut the boulder and you have learned to use quite a few breathing styles. So you have Master's blessing to leave the mountain. Don't you want to see your mother? That question cut deep into Izuku. I want to, but I'm not ready for that just yet. Izuku wouldn't deny he wanted to, but with everything he has learned and done, he needed time to think. He also just got permission to leave the mountain. He's been stuck there for over a year, but he didn't feel ready. He felt guilty, and both his friend and sensei knew that. They also felt guilty. Neither of them liked the idea of keeping him away from his mother. Though with the secrets that they had told him, they knew to a degree this was necessary. Even if Yushiro had his mother under watch just in case this somehow pushed her over the edge. Yushiro never really tried to make connections with anyone, mainly because he would outlive them, but Izuku became his student and someone who he could trust even with some of his deepest secrets. As for Tomo, Izuku became somewhat of a little brother to her. Before he came around, it was really just her and her master. Yushiro knew he needed to say something. Izuku, I know you feel like you don't know when you can see her again or explain everything, but you need to decide on a date to see her, and I won't accept any date past the UA entrance exam. You still want to go to UA? Yes. Yes, sir. I know for a fact your teachings will help me become a great hero, he said, giving a sunny smile. The exam is in 10 months, and in those final months I would like to increase my training, so 5 months, that's when I will see her. I'll put a reminder on the calendar, said Tomo as she cleared the table. Don't worry, Izuku will be right there with you. Tomo is right. We may not be able to tell her everything, but we will be there for you. Thank you, sensei. As waterfalls sprouted from his eyes. I know you're touched, but would you mind not ruining our floors? Oh, and so the days continued as several sightings of a boy in green taking on muggers, gangsters, and other criminals of the underworld. Currently bank robbers. All right, boys, are those hostages tied up? Yeah, boss. They ain't going anywhere. Have those cops brought the van like we asked? Not yet, said the boss robber as he looked outside. He could clearly see the police talking with some of the local heroes. They got 10 minutes before we start killing off some hosta. He couldn't finish as what appeared to be flowers growing on all their guns right before their weapons shattered into several pieces. What the? My rifle, my pistol. That was a Desert Eagle. Is cost a fortune. Are you guys okay? All the robbers turned to see a kid with a katana freeing their hostages. Hey, that's the kid that's been playing hero around town. What do? We beat his ass, and of course, I got this, said the boss robber as walked towards Izuku. Izuku turned to him as the hostages were getting scared as the boss robber raised his now metal fist and put right in front of Izuku. My quirk allows me to produce metal from my skin, something your sword can't cut through, but you're more than welcome to try. Go ahead, I dare. What surprised everyone was Izuku reached with his empty hand to the metal arm and grabbing it. He took a deep breath before squeezing, crushing the metal hand. The robber collapsed to the ground, writhing in pain, holding his broken hand. So who's next? He asked before all the robbers surrendered. Oh, Bubble Girl realized too late she bit off more than she could chew. Come out so I can fry you, said Burnin. The two girls had met up while chasing down a jewel thief to a construction site. It was near midnight, so the site was empty, which did little to comfort the heroes as they had no idea where the thief disappeared to. One moment they were chasing him down. When they entered the construction site, he vanished. Before they knew it, a spike hit Burnin in the leg. When Bubble Girl went to help, she was shot in her arm from the opposite direction. That's when they realized they were dealing with a sniper. The next 10 minutes, the duo tried their best to dodge the spikes and get to cover, but when they thought they found good cover, they were just shot at again. This sucks, said Burnin as they were hiding behind their third pillar. They both were covered in cuts and scratches, not to mention exhausted from the worst game of hide and seek. Where is he? Burnin. The spikes, even though they've been coming from different places, they always come at a downward angle, meaning he has to be higher than us. Okay, so it means he has to be somewhere higher than us. Okay, what good does that do us? This construction site spans this whole block, said Bubble Girl. If we figure out which of the highest points he's shooting at us from, we can at least cover the exits. Waiter, you says we should wait him out. Burnin getting in Bubble Girl's face. That bastard has been shredding my uniform and been a pain in my ass. I'm not letting this guy go before I teach him why they call me Burnin. Well, right now we don't have any better ideas. We can't find him, and none of our attacks have the range he has, and we both don't like the option of running away. I wouldn't be able to show my face in public again if I ran from a chump like this. Are you guys okay? Both girls turned to see Izuku staring at them. They stared back, wondering what a kid was doing here. Kid, get out of here. There's a villain nearby trying to get us. Run and get help. Call my Sir Night Eye. He'll know what to do. What call? Endeavor. He'll smoke this bastard out. Before he could respond, Izuku sidestepped left as a spike came at him. Then leaned back to dodge one from his left, and after raised his foot to barely miss the last spike. How they both said. Does he have a precognition quirk or a reflex quirk? They thought as he expertly avoided the spikes. He's rich-hawking the spikes, said Izuku as he kept dodging the spikes. I can hear the spikes bounce off the support beams, so it isn't hard to tell which way they're coming. Give me 1 sec, he said as he put one knee down and extended his arms out with his palms open. What's he doing? I don't know. Found him. Huh. Breath of lightning, he said as he grabbed his sword and disappeared in an explosion of lightning. Both followed the trail of sparks up the support beams, only then to hear a grown man scream. They both saw the jewel thief hit ground with spikes coming out his arms along with a bag of jewels. "Don't worry, he's out cold. Well, I gotta go. See ya." "Wait," yelled Bubble Girl, but it was already too late as Izuku was already gone. "Oh, that was the Sword Kid vigilante Sir wanted to meet. He's not going to be happy we let him go." "He's not happy, I'm the one that's pissed right now," yelled Burnin. "He took our bad guy. The brat took our crook down without us doing anything. That brat owes us a fight." Bubble Girl could feel the sweat drop on her head as she watched Burnin fume for not being able to fight. "Well, at least we can bring the thief in and return the jewels." "But I'm all fired up." Oh, the night was quiet over Kyushu, just the way Hawks liked it. A nice quiet night. Maybe I can get a late night snack on the way home. Kaboom. Me in my stupid mouth. He turned to see a building with smoke coming from the top. "Okay, let's find out who ruined my night." As Hawks got closer, he saw more and more windows burst open. Hawks was about to dive into the building when a person shot from one of the windows, almost colliding with Hawks. The figure stopped and hovered in midair, revealing to Hawks a woman with 4 metal wings. "What, are you serious? First the sword brat, now Hawks. Oh wow, a pretty lady like you knows who I am. I'm flattered," said Hawks, getting his feathers ready for a fight. "Wait, did you say sword brat?" "Well, it's the number 3 hero Hawks." Both flyers turned to see Izuku on the roof of a building, fanboying at seeing a high-ranking hero. "Hey, aren't you that kid everyone is talking about?" The flying woman thought this would be a good chance to escape, but when she tried, she saw Hawk's feathers blocking her path. "Sorry, beautiful, but outdate just started and it would be rude of me to leave you on your own." "Oh, what a gentleman, but I'm not your girl. I'm Steel Angel and I fly solo," said Steel Angel as she wiped her wings, creating a wind blade right at Hawks. He was about to intercept it with his feathers, but another wind blade appeared and intercepting the first. They both turned to see Izuku with sword in hand. Breath of air. He began to strike with his sword, creating several wind blades at Steel Angel. "You brat," she screamed as she dodged as she flew higher, trying to create distance between them. "This is a fight I can't win, but this is a fight I can run away from." As she began to spin into a small tornado, creating several wind slashes in all directions, sliced through Hawk's feathers and forcing him back. She didn't let this opportunity go to waste. She flew as fast as she could. Hawks cursed as he began his pursuit. "She's faster than I thought. Even though this is fun, I need to stop her quick." They continued their game of cat and mouse until Steel Angel had to make an immediate stop or else be pierced by another wind slash. "Huh, the brat." They looked down to see Izuku pursuing them, jumping from rooftop to rooftop. "He was able to keep up with us on foot," said Hawks, impressed. "Not many heroes could do something like that. This kid ain't half bad." "That's it, this damn brat is dead," yelled Steel Angel as she dived at Izuku before launching a massive wind blade at Izuku. Izuku was in mid-air at the time, but was able to use his blade to not only block the attack but also cancel it. The only problem was that it also caused him to stop mid-jump while he was above an intersection. "Gotcha, eat concrete, you little shit." "Oh no, the kid's gonna fall," thought Hawks, readying his feathers, until he saw the impossible. "Oh, Tomo, what are you doing?" "Master Yushiro," said Tomo, flustered as she quickly tried to clean the table full of notebooks. "I was just doing some light reading." "Aren't these Izuku notebooks?" said Yushiro as he recognized the well-detailed notes. "Did you take these from his room?" "I'm sorry, Master," she said guiltfully. "I just couldn't help myself. I was just so curious on the new techniques he was working on." "Really? I thought you had no interest in the demon-slaying techniques." "Well, I do admit I didn't think there would be any point in learning the techniques since I have no real desire to fight, but I have read the books in the library and some of Izuku's techniques don't match with any of the books I've read, so I was just curious." Yushiro couldn't help but chuckle. "I forget sometimes you're still a child." She began to pout. "But to answer your question, the reason those techniques aren't in the old text is because they were impossible back then." "Does this have something to do with your different training methods?" "I'll admit that's one of them. I've lived hundreds of years, and in those times I've trained several people in a variety of subjects and learned how to improve on several training methods, especially the Demon Slayer techniques, since I've tried to preserve their knowledge while the world forgot it." Master, I kind of know that already." "Well, clearly not all of it, because I also preserved the techniques that were only theories back then." "Here," grabbing a specific notebook and handing it to Tomo. "Those are the notes he made on techniques that could be possible to learn and use based on those old theories. Wow, these are super detailed," she said as she skimmed through the notebook. "Izuku's analytical skills are incredible, and these were based off of theories," she said in awe as Yushiro nodded in confirmation. "But wait, that only explains how he came up with those moves. How is he able to pull them off when the masters of old couldn't? Is it because he got an early crash course in the breath of the sun?" "No. While Izuku was given an opportunity, others weren't, and his eyes are top-notch. His greatest advantage is high genetics." "His genetics? Do you know what quirks his parents have?" "His mom has a low form of telekinesis, and his dad can breathe fire." "Wait, his dad?" "Yes, while Izuku doesn't have a quirk himself, his father was born with a quirk that must have improved his lungs incredibly, and some of those genes were passed down to Izuku along with the natural evolution of quirked humans. Izuku can use abilities that the masters of old could only dream of. Oh, Hawks had rubbed his eyes in disbelief. One moment the kid was falling, then the next he was standing in midair. F-whoosh, F-whoosh. He can fly, they yelled as Izuku began to run on air. Cloud walk. Okay, what the hell is this kid's quirk? Yelled Steel Angel. How should I know? Says Hawks, wondering the same. Hey kid, how are you doing that? Hoping to get at least some info on the kid. I figured it while I was being chased around a mountain for 2 weeks by an Akama. They both said, not sure how to respond. Izuku's face grimaced as the memories came back. It wasn't fun. My sensei's friend could be a hellish gym instructor. It was a nightmare. The only good thing that came out of is I learned how to run on air. This only confused the two more. Anyway, you ready to surrender yet? No way. I don't do jumpsuits and orange is a disgusting color. She cried out as reality seemed to set in. I ain't going to jail. Not like this. As she gave one final wind slash at Izuku. Very well. As his sword light ablaze. Breath of the sun dawning flame. Izuku sent a fire slash going right through her wind slash and directly hitting Steel Angel. She would have fallen if Hawks hadn't caught her bridal style. After he made sure she was okay, he turned to Izuku, who was still somehow standing on air. Nice job, kid. I don't suppose you would mind helping me take her to the station. Sorry, but I can't do that just yet. If I went with you, I don't think they would let me go just yet. Besides, it looks like you got your hands full, he said before running into the clouds. Before Hawks lost sight of him, he sent a single small feather and smiled when he felt contact. I'll leave that on him for a while and see what he does next. That kid is definitely interesting, he thought as he felt the woman in his arms begin to stir. Well, Sleeping Beauty, it looks like it's time I take you to the police. Dejiro Kirishima was having a dilemma. Early that day, he tried to help out one of his classmates from some bullies only to be easily beaten, and his friends were of no help as they only pointed out how unoriginal he was and how weak his quirk was. How can I be a hero if my spirit breaks so easily? He said, feeling powerless to save anyone. He was currently walking home from school when he noticed one of the TVs in a store showing news of the mysterious child swordsman in green with Hanafuda earrings. He was helping out pro hero Lightning Max with a villain attack. The news reporter ended reminding everyone that he was committing a crime for doing vigilante work. Why can't I be more like him? He looks to be about my age and he doesn't look like he's afraid of anything. I wonder if he'll tell me how he does it, he thought as he began to walk away from the store. He continued down the road a bit before he heard a scream. He looked to see the scream came from 2 girls from his school with a giant of a man standing before them. He was well over 3 stories tall, wearing a massive cloak over his massive body. Where is the Spring Hero office? The 2 girls were way too scared to even respond. All they could do was cower. Are you not going to tell me? He said as his hand began to crush the building above the girls. There's no police or hero around to do anything, thought Kirishima. Come on, he told himself, move, but he was unable to move past his own fears. He stood there wanting to move and be a hero that protected people. Mina dashed in front of the giant in defense of the girls. It's 2 blocks down, turn right and across the street. Thank you, said the giant before he suddenly tensed, crushing the wall, causing rubble to fall. Kirishima could only look on in horror as he saw his classmates were crushed. MMMIIINAA. Oh, you know these girls, said a voice. Kirishima turned his head to see Guy from the TV, the swordsman in green. Izuku Midoriya. Would you mind looking after them? Past him was Mina and their classmates. Perfectly safe. Thanks. Wait. Kirishima didn't finish as he noticed that the giant was now staring in their direction. In particularly Izuku. Kirishima knew this was about to get real. As Izuku began walking towards the giant began to shake, but not out of excitement. No, he was scared. The mountain of a man was scared of someone who was barely a tenth of his size. Demon Slayer, repeated Kirishima, confused on what the giant meant. So you know who I am, said Izuku as he stared down the giant with one hand on his sheath with his thumb on the hilt, pushing his sword out just enough to see the blade. Who are you? Who do you work for? The giant couldn't answer as memories flooded his head. Memories that weren't his but scared him nonetheless. To him, the boy in front of him was his longest and most dangerous enemy that has killed him time and time again. He felt true fear of countless before him as they faced their death at the hands of numerous swordsmen. The giant then did something that none of the onlookers thought he would do. He ran down the street and turned down the first street. Izuku gave chase but stopped in front of the street the giant turned. Hey, wait up, said Kirishima as he ran after them. Demon Slayer, wait, he yelled, but as he turned the corner all he saw was Izuku standing in the street. Hey Demon Slayer, where did the big guy go? Izuku closed his eyes and sniffed the air. It seems someone with a teleportation quirk grabbed him. A teleporter? Wait, how do you know that? It may be hard for you to notice, but if you look on the ground you can see that all the dirt and pebbles make a perfect circle, meaning that a portal took it somewhere else, he said as he pointed to the ground. It was hard, but Kirishima could see a perfect circle of dirt. Wow, I would have never noticed that. Not many would, but another big giveaway is the smell. The smell. He sniffed the air and smelled something. Alcohol, I smell alcohol, and definitely the strong kind. Exactly. There isn't a single bar nearby, yet you can clear smell something like the inside of a bar. Kirishima was impressed, so was the crowd that was forming around them, many of them wanting to know more about the newly named Demon Slayer. Though for him personally, this was his chance to speak to him, maybe gain something that can help him be a hero. Wait, Demon Slayer, I got a question. Izuku was about to leave but stopped and gave the boy in front of him an interesting look. Okay, what's your question? How do you do it? Aren't you scared? You're not even in high school and you're taking guys on like a pro. Izuku tilted his head at his question and thought for a second before walking up to Kirishima. Do you want to be a hero? Kirishima, a little unsure of himself. Yes. Izuku remembered something the Yushiro-sensei told him. Wisdom can come from everyone and from everywhere, even yourself. You or whoever you're divulging the information to just has to be able to accept the wisdom you're giving. Then he remembered how it started with him. Do you want to go for a run? How that was the last thing he thought he was going to be asked. He was skeptic. Sure. Izuku gave a sunny smile before grabbing his shoulder and enveloping them in mist. When it finally cleared, both boys were gone. Oh, it was the hardest run of Kirishima's life, but he pushed through. He chased Demon Slayer through the streets and back alleys. After a while, Kirishima was about to call it when Demon Slayer finally started to teach him something. Alternate the hardness on your legs. Kirishima was breathing too hard to respond, but the confusion on his face was enough for Demon Slayer to get the question. When I grabbed your shoulder, you harden a little bit. Now alternate your hardness and absorb the shock from your legs. Kirishima did as he said. It was tricky at first, but soon he got the hang of it and running became easier, and so did his breathing. Wow, I can run, he said as he felt the wind as he ran. Though he stopped when he noticed Demon Slayer stopping. Hand me your bag and your shoes. My shoes. Harden the soles of your feet should give you way better traction than your shoes will. After Kirishima got the idea, he quickly took his shoes off and handed them to Demon Slayer. When they continued running, Kirishima easily increased his speed. I've never thought of this before, he yelled as he picked up speed. Izuku grinned. This guy is a quick study. All right, now I want you to follow me. But I am going to begin some quick turns, so harden different parts of your legs to turn easier so you don't lose speed or momentum, he said before speed through the alleyways of the city, taking every quick turn he could make. Kirishima almost crashed twice but began to understand what Izuku was talking about. By hardening certain parts of his body and keeping other loose, he was able to turn easier and keep his momentum going. Good, you're getting the hang of it. You got hardening quirk. It does give you a small strength boost, but your big hits will come from increasing your speed like a battering ram. Izuku turned down a long alleyway with a building at the end. Okay, we're switching it up. We're going straight. We're going straight through the building, said Kirishima, shocked. He didn't want to pay for property damage. Izuku laughed. Just because your quirk seems straight doesn't mean it is, nor should you be. We're climbing the building, so everything you've done with your legs you're going to do with your hands as well. Ready, go, he said as he dashed forward and went up the building. Kirishima had come this far and wasn't going to back down. He made a quick decision on which parts of his hands to harden and rushed forward. He jumped and dug his hands into the wall as he tried to use as much of his speed as possible and climbed the side of the building. Even though he was tired, but when he got the rhythm down, he practically flew up the building. In fact, he did. He moved so fast his momentum carried him above the roof. Lucky Izuku was there to catch him. So what did you think of your first run? He said as he put him down. Thank huff you huff, said Kirishima before inhaling a lot of air. I never thought I could climb a building like that, or well, really anything you just showed me. I'm not strong like you. I could never do anything like this. Izuku slapped Kirishima's back more than hard enough to leave a good bruise. Don't sell yourself, just look at where your own hands and feet have brought you, he said as he pointed over to the other side of the roof. Kirishima walked to the edge and saw one of the most breathtaking views of the city he had ever seen. This is incredible. I've never seen the city like this before. The only way you can get a great view like this is if you get up here with your own 2 feet. But I'm only here because you brought me here. I guided you here. I did not carry you. I did not activate your quirk. You did that, and even without me you could do this again with your own strength. Kirishima couldn't help but smile and blush a little at the compliment. Yeah, I guess I could do this again. Though his smile quickly turned into a frown. Though I couldn't do anything back there, I was so scared I couldn't move. How can I be a hero if I get so scared I can't even move? He said as self-doubt set in. How do you do? Come, you're not scared. Are you kidding me? I'm terrified. What? But you always rush in head first. You never hesitate. Do you remember seeing those girls almost getting crushed? Yeah, of course I do. It happened like an hour ago. Do you remember how you felt before you realized that they were safe? Kirishima knew that feeling. He had let them die. Remember that feeling and make sure you never feel it again. The thing that scares me more than me dying or getting hurt is the thought that someone is going to get hurt because I didn't do anything. I don't want to regret anything. As Kirishima listened to Izuku, he couldn't help but feel like he heard that somewhere before. Hey, that sound like something Crimson Riot would say. Oh, are you familiar with Crimson Riot? Familiar. He's my all-time favorite hero. He's so manly. He's a hero who doesn't back down and saves people and serves justice with a chivalrous spirit, said Kirishima enthusiastically. Well, maybe you should rewatch some of his interviews. There may be something there that you missed. As he began to walk to the side of the roof. The fire escape is this way. You should try and see how much of your body you can harden at a time and for how long. Maybe do some training. Wait, hold it, are you leaving? Asked Kirishima a little sad. Yep, I still have a lot of things to do today, and there is something I need to talk to my sensei about. Your sensei? Kirishima couldn't help but wonder what kind of man he was. Do you think I could meet him or if he would train me? I'm afraid not. Immediately shooting down the request. There are reasons why he can't train you. In fact, the only reason he trained me is because his friend asked him to. Really, what kind of hero was he? Oh, he wasn't a hero, but he's been around a very long time and knows a lot. Actually, a lot of my physical training was either done by his assistant or one of his friends he would call in, like a guest lecturer. So he's not some teacher who runs a school or anything. Izuku nodded, dashing his hopes. Man, after seeing this guy in action, I kinda wondered what his sensei could teach me. Aw man, looks like I'm back to my own training. Speaking of your training, I think there are a few points you should focus on, said Izuku as they began to make their way down the fire escape. 1. You should stick to trying to increase your overall physical abilities. 2. Try and see what other moves you can do by hardening certain parts of your body and what patterns yield what results. 3. See how long you can maintain those patterns and how long you can maintain a full body hardened state. Kirishima quickly brought out his phone and began to type them down. Okay, I think I got it. Good. I'm no teacher, but hopefully those ideas will help you become a hero, he said as he was about to say goodbye and leave. Wait, I have 3 questions to ask before you leave. Okay, shoot. Why do you go around like this? You're pretty much doing vigilante work. Were you sick of waiting or something? Oh no, said Izuku, getting flustered, scratching the back of his head. I just can't really help myself. I don't know why, but when I see people in danger, my legs kind of just start moving on their own. I don't really mean to break the law or anything. I respect the laws and the heroes that enforce it. Mutter, mutter, mutter. Hey dude, you okay? I think you left Earth or something. Oh, sorry. Well, I get flustered or think too hard. I start to mumble. It's a habit I'm trying to break. Okay, well, next question. Kirishima had to make himself serious. Why don't you go home? The question clearly caught Izuku off guard as his face began to fill with sadness and self-disappointment. I'm sorry for asking it, but I felt that I had to. I've seen the news. One day you just disappeared and then suddenly you just reappeared kicking ass and taking names. Your mom is on the news with a few interviews. I know, I've seen them, said Izuku as he gathered his thoughts. I didn't want to go back as I was. I didn't want to stop my training, and I didn't know what to tell her to keep her from stopping me or even how to tell her. Izuku looked at his new friend in the eyes, ready to lie. That day I disappeared. A man found me broken and beaten up. He knew I needed help and brought me to the man I would soon call sensei. One of my broken ribs punctured my lungs and needed medical attention. My sensei patched me up, but I fell asleep for 4 days. When I woke up and told them I had gotten into that state for being weak and unable to save somebody from a bully they wanted to help. The man who found me asked me to take a test. It was a tough mountain obstacle course. I passed, and the man convinced my sensei to train me. That mountain showed me I could follow my dreams, so when my sensei told me he could train me, I jumped at the chance. Even agreed not to leave the mountain until I completed the first part of my training. You see, I didn't have good control over my abilities, and he was worried that if we left too soon I may be a danger to myself and others around me. I finished the first part within the first few months. To be honest, I've been kind of avoiding going home. I know I should, or at least call, but every time I try I freeze. Kirishima digested everything he had just heard. So nothing is stopping you from going home, just you. Yep, my sensei knows this and has given me a due date to go home before he drags me home. Kirishima breathed a sigh of relief. So you're all good there then. I guess the last question I got now is, are you going to become a legit hero then? Izuku's sunny smile came back. Of course, that hasn't changed. I will become a hero no matter what. I will become a pillar of hope for all. All right, as he raised his fist. That's a goal I can get behind. I'll see you at the top, Demon Slayer. Izuku Midoriya as he bumped his fist. Ajiro Kirishima. Well then, Ajiro Kirishima, keep up the hard work and I will see you at the top, said Izuku as he ran back to the mountain. Kirishima went home as well, planning to go over everything he learned today, make a plan, and watch an old video of Crimson Riot Izuku reminded him of, only to find reporters and police at his house. His night was only just beginning. Oh, Izuku made it back to Mount Seijiri as Tomo was finished putting dinner on the table. Oh Izuku, welcome back. Hey Tomo, do you know where Sensei is? I need to speak with him. He's out back checking the little wisteria tree. He actually wants to talk to about that kid you kidnapped. You didn't bring him here, did you? What, I didn't kidnap him. I was just trying to help him a little. He had some serious self-confidence issues. He just needed someone to show him what he could do. That sounds familiar, she teased. Izuku could only look away in embarrassment. Well, you should go see him and good luck. Just like Tomo said, Izuku found Yushiro looking at the small wisteria tree in the back of the garden. Izuku bowed. Sensei, I've returned. Izuku, before we talk about anything else, I need to ask, did you tell that boy anything? No, Sensei, I stuck with the lie we came up with. Good, though I would like to hear about your day in detail. Yes, Sensei. Thought there is one part I need to tell you immediately. Izuku then told his sensei about his encounter with the giant. He knew who I was and was scared. I've never seen this guy before, and even I could tell he outmatched me. So why did he run away? Gigantomachia. Gigantomachia. That is the name of the giant you meet today. He works for, or I should say the man who created him was the man I warned you about. The man who reminds me most of him. All for one, said Izuku, remembering the stories he was told. The man who was more demon than man. A man who should be avoided at all cost. He had brought many heroes to their knees and killed at least 10 times the amount. Indeed, the reason that Gigantomachia was so scared of you is because All for One gave him more quirks enough to activate memories deep within them. Memories that don't belong to him. Memories, said Izuku, confused before horror dawned on his face at the realization. What does that mean? All for One knows about demons and about him. Izuku, calm down. You see, years ago, All for One tried his best to learn everything there was to know about quirks, since his revolved around other quirks. He figured out a long time ago the truth about them. Wait, you mean he knows about everything? Not everything. He knows about the existence of demons and a little bit about the demon slayers and the history of both, but not all of it. Years ago, he tried to create a demon, but the human physiology has changed too much. The quirk factor counters the demon blood too much, so he failed, but he learned that if he mixes too many quirks together or the right pattern of quirks, he will get visions of the past, so will anyone else who he has packed with quirks. It's why I warn you to avoid people with vision or memory quirks. Okay, so what do we do? For now, nothing. We have no idea where he is or any of his associates, so don't worry too much for now. They have made several enemies, me included. They will be found eventually and will face justice just like he did so many years ago. Hey, I don't mean to interrupt, said Tomo, coming outside, but dinner's ready. We better eat it while it's hot. We're on our way. Come, Izuku. I think food will do us both some good. Right. Oh, right. This doesn't look good, said Detective Naomasa. He has been reading the report and statement of Ijiro Kirishima. The kid has been doing a lot of our work. Has the police gotten in any trouble? Asked Toshinori Yagi as he sipped some tea. They were currently at UA office going over all the information they had on the newly named Demon Slayer. They had brought the info to Nezu in hopes he might be able to shed some light on the situation. That's something else that's bothered me, said the detective, pulling some info up on his computer. We haven't gotten in trouble at all. Isn't that a good thing? I'm afraid you're wrong, All Might, said Nezu. When vigilantes start showing up, the government is usually the first to get angry. Yet I haven't heard a single politician on the news talking about arresting Demon Slayer. This is quite odd. The principal is right, he said as he showed them his laptop. These are all former vigilantes. The police had several orders to arrest each and every single one of them. Even the trio of vigilantes that saved Captain Celebrity had ordered to arrest on sight. But this kid hasn't got a single order from the government. The only orders we got are from the chief of police himself. So wait, no one in the government has put anything out on this kid, said All Might, shocked. He expected the government to be up in arms. What about all the damages or laws he's broken? Nothing. If you watch any interviews, all of them just deflect or don't answer the question. Well, they answer, but it's just a politician answer that doesn't answer anything. This is quite troubling, said Nezu. If the government is going to such length to let this boy go and play hero, then something must be going on. I've never heard of the government paying for the damages or reimbursement of a vigilante, no matter how good they were. That's because they're not, said a voice as the doors slammed open. Gran Torino, said All Might, not expected to see his former mentor. What are you doing here? I called him here. I thought it would be a good idea to have him here as well, said Nezu. Greetings, Torino. Thank you for coming. No problem, said GT as he put several papers on the table. I've been following this kid since he fought that sludge villain. I called in a few favors and I found something I just couldn't believe. Someone has been paying for this kid out of pocket. What? But that can't be, said Nezu. On my calculations alone, the amount needed to cover all of these payments would require a small fortune. That would be if it was just the boy's activities, but several officials and construction companies have been paid off, and to top it off, every person involved in each incident, whether they be villain or victim, has had their hospital bills paid. Gran Torino's statement left the other three in silence. Even Principal Nezu had nothing to say. Principal Nezu, sir, how much would something like that cost? Asked All Might, somewhat scared of the answer. Nezu had to think a moment to figure it out. It was way too much for him to have the answer on the top of his head. I can't make an accurate answer with this many variables, but the amount of money needed, maybe around a national budget. What you mean someone is paying the same amount of money it takes to run a country for a kid? Screamed All Might as blood poured from his mouth. Well, that makes it easy at least, said Detective Naomasa, wiping the sweat off his forehead. We just need to check the top richest people in the country and see which one is missing a fortune. None of them are, said GT, getting their attention. I found out about the government's lack of involvement in the first month. For the past 2 I've been checking every rich family, every corporation, every government institution. Nothing. This money is coming from some private citizens with a bank account bigger than Japan. How is that possible? It isn't, said the principal, or at least they couldn't have this amount legally. It would take several lifetimes for the average person to get that money, maybe a whole lifetime for a rich CEO. Did you find where the trail leads? The trail ends with people who have been dead for over 100 years. All the accounts that were used were even before I was born. So let me get this straight, said the detective. We got a very rich person supporting a kid with an impossible amount of money to legally pay all of this out of pocket using accounts that are over 100 years old. The child in question has remarkable abilities, who according to out files was born quirkless, who now shows signs of several quirks and combat abilities that don't even compare to several pros, said Nezu. No one his age has ever shown such talent, but he's been using his powers for good, spoke All Might as he looked at the ground. I mean, he seems like a good kid. Gran Torino almost smiled at his student. Still just a kid yourself, Toshinori. I'm not talking about the kid himself. He said, I will not deny the kid has done good. However, we know next to nothing about the man who trained the boy, who this mysterious sensei is. Villains have used kids before, said Niyamasa. According to his own mother, he always wanted to be a hero, added Nezu. I can only think of one man who has the power, money, influence, and evil enough to manipulate a kid to do something like this. Let's face it, this has all for one written all over it. All Might's form began to enlarge as he changed into his hero form. You're right. I can't think of anyone else but Evil Demon. Oh, ACHOO. Sensei, are you getting sick? I'll go make you some soup, master. For the last time, I don't get sick, yelled Yushiro. Izuku wondered about some of his master's friends. He just got done doing a small delivery. The man had a screw going through the side of his head. Izuku asked if it had something to do with his quirk and said his friend in America accidentally put it there. Izuku was just happy that was going back to America. His deliveries were just weird, though he wondered about the girl he mentioned. Apparently Izuku reminded him of one of his students that uses a sigh. Izuku was broken out of his thoughts as his phone buzzed. He checked the ID and say it was Tomo. Oh, hello Tomo-chan. Hey Izuku, you get that delivery done? Yep. Well, take your time coming back. Master's meeting with the scientists is going a little longer than expected. Apparently they really want him to be a part of some program on Island, but they don't want to give out all the details. That will never work out well. Izuku knew how much his teacher hated working on a project if he had no idea what exactly it's for. Anyway, dinner gonna be late, so if want to get snack on your way back, go for it. Take a bit of a break. I saw the news. Nice job with the bear guy. Thanks, will do. I'll see you later. As he said goodbye, Izuku hung up. When he did, his phone flashed the date. The date to reunite with his mother was just 1 week away. Izuku was scared. He felt terrible leaving his mother the way he did. He made his decision and he was going to have to live with it, but none of the secrets or training he learned were a good enough excuse leaving his mother the way he did. He knew she was doing okay. His teacher sent one of his cats to watch over her. The cat comforted her, made sure she got to work on time, and also accidentally sits on her phone and dials Mitsuki's number whenever she's feeling down. Though it didn't make him feel any better. He knew he was really the only one in her life. His father only called after he saved Bakugo. The only thing his father has really done since he left was send more money to his mother. Though his mother stayed strong, and from what the cat has informed us, she was preparing for his return. He still wondered how his sensei taught a cat how to use a phone, or even type for that matter. Don't worry, there will be more crying than there will be yelling. Izuku froze as he turned his head to only find a very cute girl in a pink hiyori right in front of his face. When did this girl get so close? I didn't hear her or sense her at all. Who is this girl? Thought Izuku as he got a closer look at her. Wait, I know this girl. Are you Tanjiro's sister, Nezuko? She smiled as she looked at Izuku fondly. You really are like my brother. She then turned and began to walk down the street. Come, there is someone in need of you. Izuku didn't hesitate and began to follow her down the street, ignoring the onlookers and fans. I wonder, can they see her or is it just me? As they turned down into an alleyway. As they delved deep, Izuku was wondering who she had asked him to help. She then stopped. Izuku looked around and couldn't see anyone in sight. He was about to ask when she kneeled down to a cardboard box and slowly opened it. Izuku was surprised to see a small girl with white hair, red eyes, and a small horn on her forehead. But what got his attention was the rags she was wearing and the bandages on her arms and legs. Whatever monster did this will know my blade. Don't worry, little one. This man here is the hero that will help you, said Nezuko, trying to reassure the girl. The girl still seemed frightened, but her words eased her even if it was just a little. This girl has been through a lot. I've helped her as much as I can with the time I have. Do you think you can take care of her from here? Izuku gave the girl his brightest smile. Don't worry, I will protect her. I will protect you. Wait, miss, said the girl, you're not going to leave me. Are you? I'm afraid so. But, the girl began to cry. You're the first person to ever help me, Yu. Please don't go. Nezuko gave her a big hug. I'm so sorry, little one. You deserve so much better, but I can't give you that. The most I can do is make sure you are in good hands, and this man's hands are the best. My brother helped him when he was in need, and he will help you. With those words, Nezuko faded. You will be safe, your hero will help you. After seeing Nezuko disappeared, the girl got scared and hid herself in the box. Izuku slowly approached the box, knowing that the girl was watching him from inside. Hey, don't worry, I don't know who did this to you, but I promise I won't let them hurt you again. She didn't respond. She just continued to watch him from the cracks between the cardboard slits. Come on, I know some place safe where we can go. So how about you come out of that box? No, the girl yelled. Nezuko said this would keep me safe. It keeps me away from them. It keeps others from my curse. They can't find me in the box. Okay. Did Nezuko tell you the box was safe like the one she had? Asked Izuku. Remember the tale of Nezuko? Yeah, she said, opening the box slightly. Did you know her? In a way, yes, I do know her. She had a wooden box that kept her safe while she traveled with her brother. Oh, I have an idea, we'll just take the box with us, he said as he grabbed the sides of the box. Ready, 1, 2, 3. As he lifted the box with girl inside. Can you tell me your name? My name is Uri. My name is Izuku Midoriya. Are you hungry? Oh, every person who was in the McDonald's went silent as they saw the now famous Demon Slayer walk into the fast food restaurant talking to a box. He put the box down onto the table and ordered a chicken sandwich and some apple slices. The manager made sure they got his order done quick, but she had them double-check to make sure they got it done right. Meanwhile, he sat down at the table and then began to talk to the box again. It confused everyone until the manager brought the food. Here you go, sir, 1 chicken sandwich and apple slices, said the manager as she put the food on the table. Thanks, said Izuku as he grabbed the apple slices. Here you go, Uri, apples just like you asked. To everyone's surprise, a little girl popped her head out, grabbed the apples, and shut the box. Izuku saw their confusion, as well as fast movement outside the window. I kinda found her hiding in this box. I couldn't just leave her there and saw she was hungry, so I came here, sorry, he said as he bowed to the other customers and the manager. Oh, it's no problem, sir, said the manager, bowing back. In fact, I'm happy my store could be of service. Thanks, here, he said as he handed her several bills. What? No, there's no need to give us more. You've already overpaid, sir. I insist, we've caused quite a commotion here, so please take, he said, giving her a sunny smile she couldn't refuse. She left the two to eat. As Izuku ate, he kept talking to Uri. Even though she never said anything back, she stayed in the box. He kept telling her stories of his training, his sensei's cat, and even his mother. You know, my sensei once told me he met the devil at a McDonald's once. Said he worked here. Probably just some guy who messed up his order. Who could imagine the devil himself working part-time at a fast food restaurant? Excuse me, sir. Izuku looked and saw a man in a cheap suit with a scar across his bald head. I'm so sorry that my girl caused you so much problems. If you don't mind, I would like to take her home. Izuku gave him a deadpan stare, along with half the restaurant. He wasn't even trying to be convincing. Seriously, you're kidding, right? Izuku sighed as he put some money on the table and grabbed the box with Uri in it. He could feel her shaking inside. Miss Manager, I'm sorry for not cleaning up after myself, but something tells me I should leave now before I create a bigger mess, he said with a smile, then calmly left the restaurant. Uri, please stay in the box. I won't let you go, but it will get a little rough, he said to Uri. Now before we begin, are you and those men hiding behind that truck sure you guys want to do this? The man stood there for a moment, wondering how the heck the kid knew about the others. I knew that lie wouldn't work. Oh well. Before yelling, get him now before he draws his sword. The moment those words left the man's mouth, several men jumped Izuku. Izuku noticed one of them controlling a chain and trying to snare him. He grabbed the chain with one hand and pulled it along with the man and smashing him into his friends, knocking several of them out with one move. Another tried from behind and with being as careful of Uri as he kicked the man into a truck. Trust me when I say this, I don't need my sword to beat any of you, said Izuku as he vanished from their sight. Izuku quickly with one hand gave each of them a good chop on the neck, knocking each of them out. When they wake next, they would be in police custody. Uri popped her head out to look at Izuku and his handiwork. Come on, Uri, let's go home. Home? Izuku nodded as he made a dash back to the mountain. The bald, scared grunt got up and rolled them in, getting as many of them as they could into the trucks. Come it, move it. If we don't get her back, Overhaul is gonna kill us. Move it. He screamed at them as they speed down the highway way over the speed limit, until suddenly the lead driver hit the brakes. What in the hell did you stop for? Screamed the man as they stared at the driver, who began sweating bullets as he looked ahead in sheer horror. They all looked forward only to regret everything in their life. It was back and it put a hand on the hood of their truck. I'm sorry, but I can't let you do that. As her hands erupted in flames. You haven't finished playing with me, screamed Nezuko as she ripped their engine out with one hand. By the time the police arrived, every would-be gangster had already soiled their pants and raving about a demonic girl in pink. They should have worn the brown pants. "Oh, hey, I'm home," yelled Izuku as he returned to the mountain. "Welcome back. I got curry cooking," and Master Tomo stopped as she saw Izuku with a box with a little girl inside. "Master, Izuku kidnapped a girl." "I didn't kidnap her." Yushiro walked into the kitchen. "Okay, what's going on here?" After seeing the girl, Simple raised an eyebrow. "Well, this is unexpected." "Sorry, Sensei. I know this is unexpected, but I have good reason to bring her here. She needs help." "I can see that. She seems frightened half to death just by looking at us." "Aw, don't worry, cutie. We're all friends here," said Tomo as she reached to pat the girl's head. She stopped as her face twisted with horror as every single one of her instincts screamed at her to stop. She quickly backed away. "What the hell? It's her quirk," said Yushiro, keeping calm. "Her quirk is going out of control." "Izuku, why exactly did you bring her here?" "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't know about her quirk." "It's well. Eri, tell him who brought me to you." Eri was quiet for a moment. "It was Miss Nezuko." Yushiro could help but be shocked. Izuku forgot with how much his sensei tried to be stoic. That even he can be shocked. "Izuku, you said brought to her by someone." "It was her, sir." Pinkiori and matched the photos perfectly. "Nezuko brought me to this little girl." Yushiro up to the little girl and put his hand out. "Don't," warned Eri, almost jumping out of the box. "If you do, you'll die too. My curse will kill you." Yushiro gave her one of his rare smiles. "Don't worry, little one. It takes a lot to kill me, and I'm very familiar with curses." As he put his hand on her head, Eri was surprised when nothing happened when he petted her head. Both Izuku and Tomo knew he was doing more than just comforting the girl, and it showed as his eyes began to narrow. "Tomo, make sure you make extra for dinner." "Izuku, prepare an extra bedroom for Eri." As he grabbed the box with Eri, he saw Eri become scarred. "Eri, I promise that I won't hurt you, but I need to make sure your quirk doesn't hurt anyone." "You can make it so I don't hurt anyone anymore." "I will try." As he took Eri to the medical wing of the mansion, Izuku made sure the room next to his and Tomo's were set. He even found Tomo's old pajamas. She said Eri could us. He returned to see Tomo finish dinner when Yushiro came back with a tired Eri, with no box this time. Both Izuku and Tomo wanted to ask questions when Yushiro mouthed after dinner. The four had a peaceful dinner. Shortly after dinner, Eri fell asleep holding Izuku. Tomo took he and changed her before putting her down to bed. They looked to see a peaceful sleeping Eri in her bed before closing her door. As they went back to the living room, Yushiro let out a heavy sigh. "That girl has truly experienced hell." "What do you mean?" asked Izuku as Tomo brought tea. "For starters, she's been killed several times." Crash. Tomo dropped a teacup. Izuku couldn't help but notice she was shaking. "I'm sorry, sir, but could you repeat that?" "She has had a bit of a similar experience like you, Tomo." Tomo put everything down as she took a deep breath. "Okay, I'm good. Please continue, master," she said, forcing herself from shaking. Izuku grabbed the teapot and poured everyone a cup. Yushiro took a drink before he began retelling his experience of the child's past. "When I was putting her quirk under control, I took a peek into her mind and into her memories. For starters, some way her parents were related to a villain, a Yakuza member to be precise. When her quirk activated, revealing it to be some sort quirk that could rewind an organic being to a previous state. I believe one of the Yakuza members then gave her a quirk enhancement drug, thinking it will give him some sort of fountain of youth. In the end, it made her quirk go out of control. She undid the man into nothing. After that, she was taken by the head of the Yakuza. That's when the nightmare began. Calling it torture would be too easy. They discovered her blood holds her quirk. The blood has been key to their quirk enhancement drugs. It increased their performance tenfold. By continually studying it, they learned how to use it, suppress quirks, and even how to eliminate quirks entirely from someone. So much from her blood." Yushiro grew angry. To get this much blood, the head of the Yakuza used his quirk to literally turn her entire body into blood, then used it again to turn her back. His quirk allows him to deconstruct and reconstruct anything, even people. He deconstructed her and reconstructed her over and over again. Yushiro stopped there to let the information. Both Izuku and Tomo were in shock that slowly turned into anger. Izuku began to wonder what type of twisted monster could do this to little girl, while Tomo was just wondering where she could find him and spill his guts. Yushiro could see in Tomo's eyes as several painful memories came back to her. He could tell whoever did this was at the very top of her kill-on-sight list. Luckily, he wasn't the only one to see. "Tomo." She looked up to see Izuku with a worried look in his eyes. Izuku became a good friend to her over the year he stayed with them at the mountain. He was now like a little brother to her. She couldn't stay mad, not with that worried look of his. She took a deep breath and suppressed the bad memories and reminded herself this is about the girl. "Master, is Eri going to be all right?" "It's hard to say. Physically, she will be fine after a few days of rest. Mentally, she will have to live with the scars that have been given. The most we can do is help them fade so she can smile and have a bit of normal life. Though her main problem that we need to solve is one that I have never seen before." "What do you mean, sensei?" "It may even help her mentally, but the biggest problem she has is her quirk." He paused. Please explain, Sensei asked Izuku if there's any way we can help her. I would like to help. He's right, we have to help, said Tomo, agreeing with Izuku. Don't worry, we will help her, and I was getting to that. You see, the problem with her quirk is that it has been mutated too much. I don't think the man fully understood what he was doing or even cared for that matter. You see, she is still just a child, her quirk is still developing, and the man kept destroying her and recreating her. Add drugs and whatever other chemicals they were pumping in her have changed her quirk. It's mutated it, making it volatile and uncontrollable. If I had to take a guess, I would say her quirk originally reverted anything organic back to a previous form state by state. But now it rewinds at an unpredictable rate, and the raw form of her quirk in her blood is so broken down it's pulling her into several different directions. They both digested the information. So how do we help her? She is going to need several genetic quirk surgeries. I'm going to have to alter her quirk, change it into something more manageable. You can do that, Izuku said in a bit of a shock. I know how quirks were made and I've been studying them for years. How do you think I was able to get her to stop earlier? That was actually a question I had. I can explain in better detail later. For now we have to prepare. It's not going to be easy. I'm going to need several items and ingredients. Izuku, I know we agreed that you would see your mother next week, but this takes priority. So many things can go wrong with an unstable quirk like this one. I completely understand, Sensei, Izuku said, Tomo getting his attention. You're not off the hook. You're still going to go see your mother before UA. She's right. First we make sure Eri is okay, then we see your mother. After that you get into UA, said Yushiro, finishing his tea and giving them a look filled with pure rage. That's when we hunt down whoever did this to Eri and show them our fury. Eri, for the first time she could remember, slept peacefully. It was strange and foreign, but she liked it. She was safe, though that didn't stop her from panicking when she awoke in an unfamiliar room. She calmed down when the memories of the previous night came to her. She didn't know what to do. They were nice to her, but the Yakuza would come looking for her. Shisaki would come, and then the nice people would die because of her. Eri then began to wrap herself in the sheets, wanting to return to her peaceful slumber. Are you still tired? I can come back later. Eri then saw Tomo looking over her with a big smile on her face. Eri didn't know what to say. She wanted to say sorry. She didn't want anyone else to die because of her. That's when another part of her decided to talk. Ggggrrul. Well, it sure sounds like someone is ready for breakfast, said Tomo as she picked Eri up. Eri tensed up a little but soon relaxed to Tomo's gentle touch. How do pancakes sound? What's a pancake? Super yummy food you're going to love. They soon made their way towards the living room, where they found Yushiro watching the Izuku train in the courtyard. Good morning, Tomo, Eri, said Yushiro without taking his eyes off Izuku. Don't forget to watch your stance. You're going to lose power if you don't get a good stance for the breath of the earth techniques. Yes, Sensei. Morning, said Izuku, not looking as well. Morning, said Tomo. Morning, said Eri in a small voice. Can you see us? HHMM. No, he's most likely using his other senses to tell where we are, said Tomo as they watched Izuku for a minute. Would you like to stay and watch? Eri was a little surprised. She wasn't used to getting asked what she wanted. She was honestly afraid of answering, but nodded. Okay then. You can stay here with Master Yushiro while I go make breakfast, she said as she put Eri down right next to Yushiro before going to the kitchen. Eri sat there quietly watching as Izuku ran through several drills as Yushiro gave him some advice every now and then. Eri was still scared to say anything or to ask anything. She just stared at Izuku and glanced at Yushiro every minute or so. I can't give you a proper answer if you don't ask a question. Yushiro smiled at Eri. I will try to answer any questions you have to the best of my ability. What are you going to do to me? Well, with your permission, I would like to help you and give you a permanent fix to your quirk. You can help me. You can take the curse away. Yes, I can help you. I'm very familiar with quirks, and I know a way to turn your curse into a gift that you can use in any way you so desire. But I would like your blessing to do so, he said with sincerity. Eri almost couldn't believe it. It was almost too good to be true. Why? Why would you help me? Eri, I know I might not look like it, but I've been around for a very long time. During that time, I've seen people happy and I've seen people suffer. I have suffered as well, so has Tomo and Izuku. An old friend of mine showed me that people can be happy, that they can become better no matter what life has thrown at you. You can still turn it around. He gave me hope after I lost the only love of my life until the day he died. He still showed me the hope of life. I want to help you because I want to and because I have the power to do so. I want to give you a helping hand like my friends did for me. Eri began to think over everything Yushiro just said, not really understanding it. She didn't really know what to think. A helping hand was so strange to her, and Yushiro could tell. The way she was squirming, he could tell she had barely known what kindness is. I know this might be too much for you, but believe me when I say we will help you, we will protect you. Eri looked at Yushiro and saw no lies. It calmed her enough to feel peace. She felt like she could trust these people. She knew now they wouldn't treat her like Overhaul did. They sat in silence for a little while. Do you have any other questions? What is he doing? Izuku is going through some of his breathing styles. He's trying to get better at the ones he's not good at. Breathing styles. Breathing styles are different ways to breathe. Depending on how you use the breathing style changes the way you fight and the fighting style used. It was the main form of combat used by the Demon Slayers. What's a Demon Slayer? Heroes who fought a secret battle against monsters that threatened many people. They had made many sacrifices to do so. They won in the end, but since many had no idea what they were doing, they became lost to time. I spent a good part of my life gathering and preserving their knowledge and even learning many of their techniques. I thought it was terrible that they would be forgotten, so I made it a goal that they would be remembered. So can you use the breathing as well? Somewhat. Unfortunately, I'm not exactly built for them, though I made sure I understood it enough to pass it on to others. Like Izuku, I think he was born for it. Is he strong enough to beat the bad man? Or he said afraid of what would happen when he shows up. By himself, I'm not sure. I've never met this overhaul, but he won't be alone. I've already contacted several people this morning. The government already has their eyes out for him, and if I ask for backup, they will give it. Government, that's the people in charge of Japan. Asked her. She didn't know exactly what it was, but she knew Overhaul didn't like them. You work for them? No, I work with them. You see, years ago, as technology advanced, it became harder and harder to hide, and I didn't want any of my hard work to go to waste. I thought it was high time I introduced myself to the government after I showed them the truth of the Demon Slayers and the benefits of my advanced knowledge in science and technology. They agreed to make a deal for me. They helped me keep the knowledge of old safe and help keep me hidden from others, and I would help them on certain projects that I would agree upon. I learned that I would need something to occupy my time before I went crazy with boredom. Though when quirks first started to appear, things got real busy. It's been that way for a while. Eventually, I became acquainted with quite a few people of power around the world that are willing to help me, and in turn I've helped them one way or another. Yuri stayed quiet after that, mainly because she had no idea how to take the information. Even Yushiro had to admit that was quite a bit of information for someone so young to take. But he wanted to be honest with her so he could build a bond of trust. Even though she may not be able to understand everything he was saying, she could at least tell he wasn't hiding, was about to say something to make it easier to understand when Izuku finished his drills. Morning, Yuri, did you sleep well? He asked. Yuri nodded as her stomach growled. Sounds like someone wants breakfast. Is Tomo making food? I believe so, said Yushiro, checking the time. Though I have to say she is taking a bit longer than usual. Breakfast is ready, yelled Tomo from the dining room. Well, speak of the devil. Come, children, let's get some food, said Yushiro as he took Yuri's hand and walked her to the dining room, only to stop as he entered. What's wrong, Sensei Wo, said Izuku as he saw it. Tomo, what is this? It's breakfast, master, said Tomo, wiping the sweat from her forehead. This is enough for an army, he said, pointing to the mountain of food on the table. Or Godzilla. Izuku could only stare at it. There's pancakes, waffles, omelets, bacon and eggs, so much more. I don't even know if we can eat all of this. I'm sorry. I wanted Yuri's first breakfast to be special, so I just started cooking and kinda didn't stop, Tomo said, Yushiro pinching the bridge of his nose as he was lost for words. Oh, come now, Sensei, at least we now have enough here to find something Yuri would like. Right, Yuri. Munch. The three look over to see Yuri at the corner of the table eating an apple from the fruit bowl. It would seem that our new friend's hunger has gotten to her, said Yushiro. Come on. This food isn't going to eat itself. Oh, to say Overhaul was pissed would be an understatement. First he lost her, he went on a high, men dropped her when he apparently saw some sort of demon girl in pink. Still trying to figure out what that was. The brat known as Demon Slayer took Yuri and with little effort beat several of his men who were now arrested. Overhaul tried to bribe the officers to let them go when the government stepped in. That was a very unpleasant surprise, and before he knew it this morning 3 of the Yakuza branches were hit. Not by the heroes or the cops, but a special ops unit from the frickin' military. Why the hell would the military be after him? They barely do anything domestic nowadays. They're only really called in for international conflicts or a supervillain goes apocalyptic. One of them even tried to jump him while he was out looking for Yuri. He even needed to dirty his hand with one of their fethly disgusting blood. Why the hell were they going after him now? They weren't even using warrants or even trying to arrest them. It was like they were ordered to kill on sight. None of this made any goddamn sense to him. He hasn't even told others about his overall plans. He hasn't even perfected the formula, yet they were treating him like a global terrorist. Chisaki couldn't help but wonder. He was currently deep in the depth of the Yakuza's lair, currently cleaning his mask and washing his hands as they still felt dirty. When his right hand Kronos came in, Overhaul, one of the guys who was able to get away from those military guys, has returned. Overhaul kept his eyes on his cleaning. He wasn't followed, was he? Kronos then put a letter down on the table. No, he was actually saved by another group of villains. Overhaul knew Kronos long enough to know he wasn't joking. He put his rag down and picked up the letter and began to read it. The League of Villains. I've never heard of them. Neither have I. They seem to be new, and it appears they know a thing or two about this Demon Slayer kid and what to do something about it. Overhaul put the letter down. So they want our help and it seems they want to talk to us as well. Would you like to give them the usual response, meaning to go and tell them to shove it? Chisaki thought for a moment before coming to a decision. No, right now we aren't in a good position. We refused before because we didn't want to get absorbed or taken over. Though without Eri we can't make more quirk removal bullets, and with the military hunting us, it might benefit us from making a few friends, even get a few new recruits to refill our ranks. Makes sense, so you want me to tell them we'll help them out? Yes, but tell them I want info on that Demon Slayer brat first, said Overhaul as he thought about the brat that has put the brakes on his operations. As anger began to reach a tipping point, I want to find that brat and turn him into a pool of blood over and over again till I get bored. Oh, Izuku was feeling great as he walked out of the bathroom, just getting done with taking a shower. Even though Yushiro's home was an old Japanese-style house, it was quite advanced with a lab and medical wing. It even had the basic household needs, but those were definitely better than anything other people had. If he didn't know Yushiro was an immortal who got bored easily, he would never believe he built all of this stuff himself. Though he did feel slightly bloated, Tomo made a lot of food, and with so many options, Izuku tried a little bit of everything. Tomo is a great cook. There was no way he could deny that. Usually he would finish his plate, but this is the first time he could remember where they had leftovers. Izuku went into the living room to see Yushiro and Tomo sitting on the porch in the sun with the wooden box between them. He knew they would be there apparently when Yushiro was able to stand in the sun again after not being able to see for over 200 years. He spent a whole year just watching the sun. He still loved sitting outside in the sun. Sensei, Tomo, Izuku, how was the shower? Izuku patted his stomach. Great. Though I think I can wait a bit for dinner. Tomo scratched her head and apologized. You know, you don't need to make so much all the time. I don't need to eat food to live, said Yushiro as he was reading something on his phone. I'll always make food for you, master. Wait, don't you get hunger, sensei? Not really. To be honest, if it wasn't for others telling me to eat, I would forget for days. All I need is to take my medicine, and with the recent improvements I've made, I only need to take it once a year. Though of course I do eat if others are offering. The rare craving or the food's too good to pass up. Tomo puffed her chest with pride. That's why I always provide the best, so you'll keep coming back for more. Izuku couldn't help but chuckle a little. Hey, where's Eri? Tomo reached into the box, moving the blanket, revealing Eri sleeping at the bottom. She fell asleep real quick after breakfast. After I put the leftovers away, she had already climbed into the box and fell asleep. I just bought her the blanket. They couldn't help but think how cute she was. She's so peaceful when she sleeps. Though why would she go to the box to go to sleep? We have plenty of beds. It probably brings her comfort, said Yushiro when she ran into the spirit of Nezuko. She suggested to hide in a box. It was most likely the only reason she wasn't found and was able to stay safe. Some part of her believes the box is a safe place. This reminded Izuku how he met Eri and what horrors she's lived through. Sensei, what's going to happen now with Eri? Yushiro closed his eyes as he thought everything that needed to be done to help this girl. She's going to need surgery. Even though she's in one piece, the villain Overhaul had used his quirk to destroy and recreate her over and over again. Though clearly it has had an effect on her quirk in more ways than one. Her quirk not only went out of control but also tried to heal her. Even when Overhaul used his quirk to repair her, her quirk was also trying to repair itself. Over time it has moved and distorted several parts of her internal organs, which lead to her quirk to go crazy even more. Not to mention the drugs used to increase her blood cell count. It may not be a problem now, but as her body grows it could cause many medical issues as she gets older, so the first thing she needs is basic surgery to correct the organs, and after that we can tackle her quirk. Until then I'll simply redirect her quirk to keep it under control. Well, that shouldn't be too hard, said Tomo. We both have several years of medical practice. We can easily handle her surgery to help her out. I'm afraid it isn't that simple. The reason we were going to focus on fixing her body first is so that I can safely redirect her quirk, because it clearly can affect her physically, like self-healing and the effects on the horn. This way we can not only get rid of the buildup of her quirk but also hasten her healing process. In short, we will be working with her quirk. And can you tell me what would happen if we mixed her quirk and yours together? Tomo was silent for a moment as she looked at her hands and then to the sleeping girl. That would be a disaster. I'm sorry, Tomo, I know you want to help her, especially since you know somewhat of what she's going through, but your quirks are too risky together. One wrong move and we could create a bigger problem than the one we were already dealing with. Izuku put a comforting hand on Tomo's shoulder. So what do you need? If there's anything I can do, just say the word. Yushiro smiled. Don't worry, Izuku, you'll have plenty to do. There will be numerous things we'll need to make this work, and I'm going to need you to see some people personally. The doctors needed to make sure this surgery goes off without any problems, are a bit stubborn. Unless you grab them in person, they won't come. Tomo raised an eyebrow at Yushiro's words. Stubborn doctors. Wait a minute. You don't mean those maniacs, do you? Tomo, they maybe have some egos, but egos, that's what you're going with. Okay, they're crazy. Tomo simply just gave him a deadpan stare. Okay, they're batshit crazy, but you can't deny their skill. Izuku sat there partly confused on who they were talking about, and happy Eri was still peacefully sleeping through this bit of madness. Who exactly are we talking about here? I'm only guessing here, said Tomo, but I think Master is thinking of calling a doctor called the Dissector. Another one that has a flaming serpent. One that is obsessed with a perfect body. An old snail lady and an old mountain witch that has a talking tanuki, and one that's called the Dissector. You already said the Dissector, and the mountain witch has a reindeer, not a tanuki. One thing I've learned over the years is that the most talented people in the world have the S. The sooner we get that done, the sooner I can personally fix her quirk so the Yakuza will never use her again. Tomo seemed to accept his reasoning, but it just gave Izuku more questions. How exactly do you know these people, sensei? Around 5 years ago, there was a villain attack with a quirk that allowed them to create a super play. Though luckily he was an idiot and gave us time to get several doctors together to find a cure. I met them there, and yes, several doctors came from more than questionable backgrounds. They also know I'm hundreds of years old. What they both yelled in surprise. SSSSHHH as Yushiro pointed to Eri. The villain may have been an idiot, but he found out about the doctors and attacked the hospital where we were. During the attack, several of the other doctors ran away, but a few of them stayed and fought. During the attack, I may have lost a few limbs, so when I got back up, well, let's just say there were a few questions they wanted answered. Of course, I lied about most of it. They accepted I was one of the oldest people on the planet and one of the first people to get a quirk that healed me and stunted my growth. So not only are they good, but they know who I am, so they'll help. Master, with all due respect, they're crazy. Isn't there anyone better for the job? Asked Tomo. Not wanted people so unhinged near Eri. Don't worry, I'll make sure they stay in check. The government owes me, so they'll pay them off, and just in case I can call a few people in for security if needed, said Yushiro, also thinking of what else they'll need. Though the equipment here is good, they will need an upgrade to make sure we can monitor Eri's condition and the amount of energy her quirk outputs. Looks like I'll be calling Shields a lot sooner than expected. Wait, Shields as in David Shields, all I might have first sidekick, said Izuku, shaking, trying to control the hero nerd deep inside of him. He was failing. Yes, he was here yesterday before you brought Eri home. Wanted my help on a project, but he refused to tell me what it exactly is. Something to do with enhancing quirks, but that's as much he was willing to tell me. Add in a personal request to check what I assume is a patient. I guess I'll need to give him a call. Yushiro began to make sure he had Shields' number as a contact before reassuring Izuku that he could get David Shields' autograph. That's when his phone began to ring. Hello, yes, really already. I gave you that info this morning. I see, I guess that makes sense. There's no need to apologize. I understand how this could have been a political problem. Thank you, please keep me up to date, said Yushiro as he hung up the phone and smiled at the sleeping child. The government used the info I gave them and took out several Yakuza bases. Apparently they've been paying attention to the rumors of a quirk erasing bullet and have had their eyes on the Yakuza for quite some time. When I told them about Eri, they jumped on the chance. Izuku was shocked and somewhat confused. What I thought they would only get involved if a villain was going to somehow destroy the country entirely. Surprisingly, Tomo decided to answer that question. Izuku, they were working on mass-producing a bullet that could destroy quirks. Can you imagine what would happen to the country that has relied on quirks for years if that bullet got out? It would end the country. Izuku played the scenario in his head, realizing how much damage it would do to society. That would be bad. Yushiro nodded. Indeed, but that aside, we have work to do. So we're first going to need— He stopped as they heard a cute yawn as they looked to see Eri waking up in the box. Oh, good morning again, Eri. Eri stretched a little before rubbing the sleep out of her eyes. What happened? What's going on? Tomo couldn't help but smile at the cuteness of the girl. You fell asleep right after breakfast. I think food coma would be more accurate. Oh, David Shield was currently laying down in his hotel room, just staring at the ceiling in his own failure. Weeks ago, the scientist was ecstatic to learn not only the legendary immortal doctor was real, but also willing to talk to him. He had come all the way to Japan to ask for his help. He wanted his help into finding a way to increase the power of a quirk, but the immortal said no even when David said it was for a hero. He had also figured out that the immortal Yushiro had somehow unlocked the quirk to the new hero Demon Slayer. But the second he asked about it, Yushiro was silent, and David could tell he was making Yushiro angry. He then informed him that he's willing to help with projects that will help society as a whole and will not help any personal project without being given proper information. Even though this doctor was a secret himself, he couldn't reveal his friend's condition. In the end, he had gotten nothing. He was now just waiting for his plane later tonight to take him back to Island and back to his daughter Melissa, who has been calling him over and over again. David had already deduced his assistant had told her that something had happened. There goes his phone again. Time to finally tell her he failed and would be on his way home. He picked up the phone without looking at it. Hello, Melissa, I'm sore. This isn't Melissa. David immediately shot out of the bed. Mr. Yushiro. Hello, Mr. Shield, said Yushiro. What? Why are you calling me? As you know, I don't get involved with projects when there are secrets involved, but I need help. To be more precise, I need some special medical equipment to help a friend. So in turn helping me with my problem, I will take a look at your quirk project and your patients. Really, you're willing to help?" said David, a little bit in disbelief. "Wait, patients? Yes. You are trying to make a quirk enhancement device for a hero who's injured, right? I already have an idea who it is, but I won't push. Just have their medical records with you when we meet again. You can redact their names if you want. As for the second one, you'll need to either bring them with you. When you began asking me how I unlocked Izuku's quirk, that was for someone else, wasn't it? Someone who's having problems with their quirk, correct?" "Oh yes. The quirk enhancement device is for a hero, and the questions about the boy's quirk was for someone who has problems with their quirk." David never mentioned anything about Melissa being quirkless. He had done some research and saw that Izuku was medically stated to be quirkless. He had hoped that Yushiro could somehow give Melissa a quirk. He knew how much she had looked up to All Might and how much she wanted to be a hero. Every time she came up with some new invention, she always mentioned she wanted to see in action helping heroes, but he knew she wanted to use them herself. He knew he could have mentioned her to Yushiro, but was afraid since he knew how well quirkless people were treated. He didn't know how well someone who was immortal would take helping a quirkless person. That was like asking a god to help a peasant. Little did David know Yushiro would have helped. He's a nice guy. Very well, then it looks like we have a deal. I'll be emailing you a list of items we are going to need. It isn't much, but I do need these quite soon, so do you think you can return exactly a week from now? He would have to change a few meetings, but if this could help his friend, his daughter, he would make it work. Yes, I can make that work. Good, I'll inform all the necessary contacts on my end. I'll see you in a week. Wait, before you go, I have a question about quirkless people. There's no such thing as a quirkless person. Well, at least not for anyone younger than 50. It may be weak, but everyone should have a quirk now. Izuku Midoriya is proof of that, said Yushiro, hoping David would buy it. Damn it, I had forgotten that, thought Yushiro. Nana mentioned her successor was quirkless. Did All Might tell him about One for All? David was his first sidekick, so maybe. He seems desperate to help his friend, as if he's about to do something rash. David stood there as silent tears fell from his face, as Yushiro's words filled him with hope for his daughter. David always felt he had failed his daughter when they found out she was quirkless. It had eaten him up on the inside every time he saw her looking on the computer at Heroes. If he couldn't help her, then the next best thing was to find someone who can. "I see, thank you so much. It's fine, we'll talk more next week," said Yushiro as he hung up the phone. "He's definitely a smart one. I'm going to need to come up with some solid lies for him to get him to stop digging into the origins of quirks." David's smile keeps growing as he may have found a way to help two of the most important people in his life. Then his phone rang again. "Hello, Mr. Yushiro, did you forget something?" "Mr. Yushiro?" "No, Dad, it's me, Melissa. Are you okay? Your assistant said you were down. Did the meeting go that bad?" "Melissa: Yes, the meeting didn't go so well at first, but he just called and changed his mind." "Really? That's great, Dad. So are you two on your way back to Island?" "No, not exactly. In fact, in a week you and I will be visiting him here in Japan." "What? Oh, I see. Thank you, Lockrock, and congratulations on the child," said Sir Night-Eye as he hung up the phone exhausted. "Is everything all right, sir?" asked his very enthusiastic intern Mirio. Both of his sidekicks were also wondering what was going on. Ever since this morning, Sir Night-Eye had been on the phone calling hero agencies all over the country. He was so busy that everyone else had become non-existent. He hadn't realized that he ran out of tea 2 hours ago. He had been sipping an empty cup for a while now. Night-Eye sighed as he collected his thoughts. "I've been calling heroes across the nation regarding the sudden intervention of the military special forces. 3 days ago they began immediate raids on the Yakuza hideouts we and some other heroes have been following. Something just doesn't seem right about any of this," he said as he began to rub his forehead. "I'm guessing I'm missing something here, because to me that sounds like a good thing. You need to see the bigger picture, Mirio." "Bubble Girl, Senate Piter, did we get any message from any kind of official about this or even another hero agency?" "No, sir, we've checked every hour today and yesterday and nothing. The military moved suddenly in several populated areas without notifying a single hero and without any official word from anybody. They break too many rules to count, and as far as we know they didn't deserve this level of retaliation." "What incidents happened with the Yakuza 3 to 5 days ago?" Bubble Girl quickly went through the computer. "Nothing from any official hero agencies, but it seems that the Demon Slayer kid got into a fight with a small group of them saving a child." Demon Slayer. Night-Eye had been trying to figure the boy out for months. He was wrapped up in mysterious, and the official reaction made it even more strange. Did he have something to do with what was going on? Night-Eye began to get lost in thoughts as he stared at one of his various All Might posters. "Sir, Mirio, if at any time you wish to switch internships, I'll help find someone to take you in." "Wait, what?" Bubble Girl, Centipider. The same can also go for you if at any point I cross a line that you feel uncomfortable with. Say the word and you can leave the agency. Right now the government is acting strange and somehow Demon Slayer is involved. If the government keeps withholding information and keeps us in the dark, I may be forced to start doing things off the books. This left the three in a bit of shock. Centipider recovered first. Sir, do you really think that is necessary? Yes, if things continue this way, but for now we will wait and keep an eye on Demon Slayer. Though for now I think it's time for me to reconnect with an old friend. Takuya Tenshu had been a cab driver for years and has seen several things in his years as a cab driver, but nothing made him more nervous than his current passenger in the back of his cab. It was a girl in what he assumed was in middle school, wearing a white bandana on her head covering her long dark hair, in hunting gear from the 19th century. In today's society, that wouldn't be too weird, maybe a reenactor or maybe a hero in training, but what was really making him nervous was that she was cleaning a rifle right in the back of his cab. How in the world did this kid get a gun? What should I do? It looks like an old rifle used in hunting. I have heard of people who use old flintlock rifles for hunting, so would this be grounds for me to call the cops, or is it just an antique? Well, here goes nothing. So miss, if you don't mind me asking, where exactly you headed? I'm heading to a mountain to do some hunting, she said without taking her eyes off of her rifle. Mountain? Oh miss, this address you gave me is nowhere near any mountain, said Taku. All he saw was nothing but fields along the highway they were currently driving on. A few trees here and there, but no mountains. No, you are going the right way. I apologize if this is a little confusing. Usually I would run the whole way there as a form of training, but I want to save my strength for the hunt, she said as she began examining her ammunition. Hunt? What exactly will you be hunting? A dangerous prey. Maybe the most dangerous. She grinned as she looked out the window. The turn is coming up, by the way. Ooh, right. Soon the cab turned down a long dirt road that ended with a group of trees. Thanks for the ride, mister. Here, keep the change. Taku took the roll of cash, which was easily double the amount the trip actually cost. He was about to protest the amount, but she had already stepped away from the cab. He watched as she disappeared into the trees. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna need to tell someone about this. Oh, the girl continued to walk until she exited the group of trees where she saw the mountain ahead of her. She began to walk up the mountain as she tried to calm herself. 6 months I've been waiting for this. I need to calm down. I've barely climbed the mountain, can't get too worked up before the hunt begins. She continued to walk up the mountain for a while until she saw her destination in sight, Mr. Yushiro's estate. She was about to enter when she heard something from behind her. On instinct, she hid herself behind a tree as she peered around it. She saw a girl around her age with a blonde hair and a ponytail, in jogging attire. The blonde ran around the side path to the other side of the estate. Who's she? I don't remember a foreigner staying here. She followed her to the other side to see someone else she didn't know. Come on, Melissa, you can do it. You're almost there, cheered a little girl in a pink hiyori. She had white hair and a small horn on her head. Melissa, breathing hard, tried to make a strong finish as she made it back to the starting line. She pushed herself to stay running as she passed the lap robot at the end of the path. AZZT running track completed. Melissa almost keeled over right then as she tried to catch her breath. Thanks, Iri, taking the water bottle from her. Taking a long drink. AHHH. How does Izuku do this? He makes this look so easy, she said, clearly exhausted from her run. Even though she has progressed by leaps and bounds, it was still quite tough and threw her out of her comfort zone. She was determined to keep going. He's been doing this for a while, but you were able to shatter your previous record. Dad. Hey, sweetie, said David Shield, hugging his daughter. How have you been? Great, Dad, but what are you doing here? Not that I'm not happy to see you. Can't a father check up on his daughter? Well, of course, but you were here not too long ago. Melissa smirked. Yushiro, it's been almost 2 months since he dropped you off here. What, really? It hasn't felt that long. Time flies when you're busy. This reminded her when she first met them. Oh, David and Melissa arrived and were led into the living room by Tomo, where she saw Yushiro at a small table reading some papers. David, good to see you again. David gave a small bow. Yes, it's good to see you too. I am happy to hear that you reconsidered what we discussed early, he said as he took a seat. Melissa followed her father's lead and took a seat, getting more and more confused why her father treated a kid who looked no older than her with such respect. Was he a genius or something? And who might this be? Oh, my apologies, sir. This is my daughter Melissa. Hello, she said, a little nervous. Greetings, Miss Shield. She had already said hello and was confused on what to say next. Tia's day was getting weirder and wider for her. First her dad takes her to Japan, then to a mountain that she could have sworn wasn't there a moment ago, and now she is sitting across the table from a strange kid. Is something wrong, miss? Oh no, just wondering when Mr. Yushiro is gonna get here. This made her on the receiving end of 2 very confused stares. Did I say something weird? Maybe I should break the ice. Suo, what's it like to be Mr. Yushiro's assistant? Yushiro then gave David a deadpan stare. David scratched his cheek a little out of embarrassment. I may have forgotten to mention a few things to my daughter. Yushiro let out a sigh. I guess I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm Yushiro. What? But Dad said Yushiro was a world-renowned doctor and scientist. You're my age, Melissa. I know it may be hard to believe, but Mr. Yushiro here is immortal. Melissa's eyes nearly popped out in surprise. You're immortal? No, well, somewhat. I can die, but it will take a lot to kill me. As for my background, my quirk is regeneration. Because of that, I have nearly 200 years of medical and scientific knowledge, and before you ask, I'm 223 years old. 223, she yelled in shock, before calming herself down. No way. I'm sorry, but there's no way. I've spent years studying the first cases of quirks and all scientists related to the research, and I've never heard of you or your quirk. I guess a demonstration is needed. Tomo, board please. Tomo then came through the door with a board and plastic trash bag. She set the trash bag down in front of him and the board on top, then put a knife on the board. Melissa was confused, but her father connected the dots first. Wait, you're not gonna do what I think you're gonna do, are you? Before Melissa could ask what her father meant, Yushiro lifted the knife in the air and in one fluid motion severed his free hand. Melissa yelled in horror as she saw his severed hand on the board, though her horror soon turned into shock and then into intrigue as she saw Yushiro's hand grow back in a matter of seconds. You're like a starfish. Starfish? That's a new one. So you have been alive for hundreds of years and you're a scientist to boot, said Melissa. Then why are you here? Why haven't I heard of you? Your quirk alone is groundbreaking research, Melissa, said David, raising his voice. I'm sorry, Mr. Yushiro. The reason I didn't tell my daughter much was because I know how personal it is for you. It's fine, said Yushiro, cleaning up his old hand, giving it to Tomo to be properly disposed. Though maybe it's time I returned to society. You see, Melissa, things were different back all those years ago. I went into hiding for the safety of myself and for others around me, and in hopes of helping the world from the background. In doing so, I have acquired knowledge that most people don't have, and said knowledge can help fix your problems. Problems? What problems? To heal All Might, of course. David too was also a little surprised, but didn't really show it. So you knew then? It wasn't that hard to figure out. He has been slowing down a lot and he only works about 3 hours a day now. Honestly, if you would have just told me who it was for, we could have figured something out a week ago. Wait. Hold up, what's wrong with Uncle All Might? There was silence as David tried to think of what to tell his daughter about All Might's condition. This is when Yushiro decided it was best to be honest. All Might currently has a hole in his side. After a fight with a powerful villain, he lost half of his stomach, a bit of his spleen, and most other internal organs were shredded, he said as he handed her All Might's medical papers that David sent him. She quickly glanced at them. Daddy, she said in a quiet voice. David gave his daughter a quick hug. Don't worry. With Mr. Yushiro's help, we'll have All Might back on his feet, better than ever. Comforting his daughter. No. David and Melissa turned to Yushiro. What? I said no. What? But you said you would help him, yelled David, borderline hysterical. We need him. Do you have any idea what would happen if we lost him? We need him back at full strength. I already have support gear for him. Please just heal him and make him better. Sure. David brain froze, not understanding where this was going at all. Melissa wasn't faring any better, but she was less frozen than her father. I don't get it. I'm fully willing to help All Might fix up his body, but that is not what I'm saying no to. Then what? Yushiro grabbed his tablet and put it on the table, showing David's quirk-enhancing device. I won't help if you want to tamper with his quirk, said Yushiro. Melissa looked over the tablet, studying the device while David was about to protest, but Yushiro beat him to it. Let me guess, he's the symbol of peace, the #1 hero in the world. And you're gonna go on how we need him at full strength? Then let me ask you this simple question. What happens after he's dead? This stopped David in his tracks. He was already coming up with his arguments in his head to Yushiro's response, though nothing he had was good. He's my best friend. He has helped so many people. I just can't imagine the world without my friend, he somberly said. It's a sad fact of life, but one day he will be gone, and when that happens, the world needs to be ready. That's what I'm trying to prepare for. That's why we should be looking towards the next generation. I'm still willing to help him heal his body. That alone should double the time he has for hero work. Really? Yes, I promise. I will help him if he accepts. Though I would like to talk to him first. Thank you, he said with a bow that Melissa followed. Just promise me no more of this quirk enhancement business. I've seen it done before and it didn't end well. David reluctantly nodded. Now who is your other patient? Did you bring them with you? This perked David up. He had waited for this. Yes, the other patient is my daughter Melissa. Daddy, I'm fine. I'm not sick or anything. The doctors back at Island gave me a clean bill of health, she said, a little shocked. Yushiro, you said over the phone that there weren't any quirkless people anymore, but the doctors said my daughter is quirkless. Can you prove them wrong, please? Okay, he said, but inwardly he was cursing himself for not thinking this was a possibility. The quirkless factor wasn't for All Might, but for Melissa. Melissa quirkly gathered all the information in her head on what this was about. What are you saying, I could have a quirk? Of course you do, said Yushiro, not missing a beat. I'm this far, time to dive deeper into the rabbit hole, he thought as he stood up. Please stand up. She did so. David, remind me, what was your quirk again? David showed him his hands and his fingers bending in odd directions. Bending fingers. Okay, we'll start there. Melissa, please show me your hands and arms. Good, something I can work with, he thought as he began to examine her hands. Melissa, what form of physical activity do you do? Not much. The most I do is a bit of lifting when I carry junk or use one of my inventions. With that information, Yushiro began moving her right arm while also measuring her pulse. If this is a medical checkup, shouldn't we do this in a doctor's office or something? Getting a little embarrassed. We do have a medical office here, but going there now would be pointless. I already got a good idea of your quirk. What, that quickly? Yelled both shields in shock. We're home, yelled Izuku, getting their attention. The three then hear a small padding noise in the hall. They then open the hall door to see Izuku and a very excited Eri talking to Tomo. It was so fun. We ran the mountain, then to the fields, and then we ran back to the peak of the mountain and ran on some fluffy clouds, said the excited child. Piggyback rides are so much fun. Yushiro walked up to them. Perfect timing. Izuku, I would like you to meet David Shield, said Izuku, somehow materializing his notebook. You're All Might's first sidekick. He disappeared only for Yushiro to catch him by the collar of his Hiyori. You can fanboy over him later. Right now I need you to prepare the running course outside, he said, letting the fanboy go. Tomo, I need you to outfit Melissa here with some workout clothes and a heartbeat monitor. Yes, master. Oh, and if you wouldn't mind, on your way, drop these files off in my office. You can just put them on my desk next to the wisteria plant. For a split second, Tomo's face was stunned before she bows. Yes, sir. Before taking Melissa to get changed, as the others made their way outside to the training grounds. No noticed Tomo's reaction but Izuku, who made a mental note to ask his sensei later. It didn't take long for Tomo and Melissa to come outside, now sporting running top and shorts and her hair in a ponytail. Okay, so what do you want me to do now? Asked Melissa. I want you to play tag with Izuku. All of them stood there as if they were stone. Huh, tag, that's a game, right? Asked Eri. Can I play? Not this time, Eri, smirked Yushiro as he patted her head. This game is for Izuku and Melissa. And Izuku, I don't want you going easy at all. Melissa, this will be the toughest workout yet. So without further ado, begin. Melissa was shocked by the suddenness of the situation and didn't move until Izuku poked her in the head. Hey, she complained as she tried to quickly grab him, only for him to jump several meters away within a second. Without hesitation, she chased after him. She tried several times to get close to him but could never reach him. This went on for several minutes, with Melissa doing nothing but tiring herself out. David was getting worried. Izuku began to see some change in Melissa. Same with Tomo, who expected it, along with Yushiro, who was ready to move to the stage, and Eri, who was wondering what's for dinner. Tomo, begin stage, the next stage, said Yushiro. Okay, she said as a small weight disc appears in one hand and small coin in the other hand. She raised the coin in the air as it began to glow. As the coin glowed, the ground beneath Melissa began to move. In the span of second, a small mountain raised below Melissa. She had no chance to react as she fell down the new mountain. The most she could hear were her father's cries, but something inside her knew what to do. She used her legs and jumped off the side of the mountain and did a double backflip before making a 10-point landing. How did I? Yep, she said as Izuku crashed in front of her as he tried to catch her. Yushiro took the weight from Tomo. Melissa, think fast, as he threw the weight right at her. Without even thinking, she caught it with ease. That alone left her stunned, but when she opened her hands, she was left speechless. She had somehow bent the disc. For a moment she thought the disc was fake, but she had been working with metals for too long and could tell it was very real. Her father ran to her to make sure she was okay. Melissa, are you okay? Yeah, Dad, I'm fine. Look what I did. Showing the disc. How? He said, looking at the disc before turning to Yushiro, yelling. How did you know she was going to be okay? What if she fell? May I see the weight, he asked, and Melissa silently gave him the weight before dropping right where Melissa would have fallen, only for it to bounce like a bouncy ball. Come now, she wasn't in any danger. Whenever we do something like this, I have Tomo change the ground so if anyone falls they won't get hurt. David was going to continue but was interrupted by Melissa. How did you know I had a physical quirk, or even a quirk in general? When I've been studying quirks for hundreds of years and come to the conclusion that everyone below the age of 50 or at the least 30 must have a quirk. 2. When I was examining your hands and arms, they felt more like the hands of a gymnast than one of an inventor. Also, your ligaments didn't feel normal, or I should say now the average that other people have. And before I get to the third, I would like everyone here to check their heart. A bit confused, everyone slowly put their hands on their chest. Except for Melissa. Without thinking, she put her hand on her wrist, checking her pulse. Huh, what? You want us to check our heartbeats, right? The best way is to check our pulse, right? Yushiro slowly took her hands. Melissa, I hate to tell you this, but you can't feel your heart. Huh, what are you talking about? She said, a little worried. I can feel your pulse right now through your hands. Can you feel the beating of your own heart in your chest right now? She couldn't. She stood there silent for a moment trying to feel it without using her hands, but she couldn't. You just ran more than you ever had before in your life. Even though you're catching your breath right now, your heart should be beating hard enough for you to feel it. You can't. She slowly shook her head. No, but why? Yushiro let go of her hands as he put his hands on Izuku's shoulders. The third reason was when I met Izuku he was told he was quirkless. But I knew he wasn't because I had to operate on his lungs. I knew that couldn't be true. That added with my calculations of quirk progression and the fact that quirk to quirkless ratio has plateaued. It led me to a theory and discovery of what I believe to be a new gene in all of us that make us unable to feel the part of our body that our quirk affects. In Izuku's case it was his lungs, in your case it was your heart. So the reason I didn't know I had a quirk was because I couldn't feel my heart. How come I didn't notice it before? How can anyone notice it? When you get medical checkups, doctors use a stethoscope to hear your heartbeat. When a teacher wants to show the class, they show you your pulse because your heart beats too quietly when you're not doing any physical activity. Your quirk seems to activate depending on your heart rate and blood pressure, which while hard is hard but not impossible to control, but even then you can't feel it. So unless someone had a quirk that could tell them or was physically checking for it, no one would know, not even you. But my toe joint. Oh, don't even get me started on that stupid joint exam, said Yushiro with annoyance. Several people with quirks have several joints in their toes. Honestly, it's the laziest way for a doctor to tell whether or not if someone has a quirk. It doesn't even work, and we have two people right here as proof of that. If it was up to me, every doctor who uses that test would have their medical license stripped from them. While Yushiro was fuming about current medical practices, the Shields were celebrating. David was so happy Melissa could have sworn he broke her back. But at the moment she was too happy to care. I got a quirk. I have a quirk. She kept crying into her father's chest. Yes, you do. Now you can finally follow your dreams. Thanks, Dad. I promise I'll become a hero. One the greatest in the world. I'll help you every step of the way. I'll call the gym back at I-Island and we can get you started, and maybe All Might can help you get into UA. No, said Yushiro, interrupting the touching scene, getting everyone's attention. Oh, for the love of, said David, getting really sick and tired of him saying no. What is it this time? Let me rephrase that. No, that doesn't sit right with me. You see, the reason I didn't let Izuku go back home, right, was one, he was in no condition to go back. 2, I'm still considered a global government secret, which doesn't really apply to you, but 3, we don't know the extent of her quirk that directly affects her heart. Like Izuku, his abilities affect his lungs, which in both cases can be a real medical issue. Not enough to stop them from becoming heroes if they train with them. So with your permission, I would like her to stay here so I can keep an eye on her, to make sure nothing bad happens, and I can guarantee with my training I can have her ready for the UA exam in 5 months. And if it bothers you so much, you can stay here as well. We got plenty of room with state-of-the-art equipment to keep up with your work if you want. The father and daughter looked at each other, not really sure what to do. We may have to think about it. Yushiro nodded in understanding. Well, while you think about it, how about we go inside for some dinner, said Tomo. Some of us haven't had anything to eat in a while. As 2 mighty growls come from Izuku and Yuri's stomachs, they all laughed as they went back inside to eat. Over the course of the meal, Melissa convinced her dad to let her stay so that she could train and become the hero she always wanted to be, while the other residents of the house had a conversation of their own. So you just messed with her heart, said Izuku, wrapping his head around what had happened. Tomo simply nodded. So when Sensei asked you to put the files next to the wisteria plant, that was code to somehow alter someone's heart. No, we keep a spare phone next to the wisteria plant that I texted instructions to while you guys weren't looking, said Yushiro. As for the whole mess with her heart bit, I'm sure you can guess that one. Tomo's quirk, right? They both nodded. Okay, I get that part, but what about the whole quirkless people don't exist thing that you said? Some of that is true. Doctors do need to look deeper for people's quirks, and I already have a few ideas how to fix that. In the meantime, we need to start getting our lies straight, cause all of this has shown me is that sooner or later we all are going to have to start walking in the line. So we're not going to tell them anything. Some half-truths here and there, but for the most part, no. I was willing to tell you and Yuri everything because my old friends brought you to me. To be honest, I'm sure you already figured out I haven't exactly told you everything just yet. Yeah, I kinda guessed. Knowledge is a powerful thing. We need to be careful on how much we let others know about it. So I'm open to suggestions. Oh, incredible, Melissa, said David. In 2 months your stats have already exceeded those of candidates to UA who had years of training. Honestly, I didn't think you could grow this much in such a short amount of time. Melissa, glowing with pride and blushing a little bit out of embarrassment. Anja's dad, thanks, but the credit goes to Sensei Yushiro. If it wasn't for him, I don't think I could get this strong. While I won't deny my 100 years of experience did help teaching you, said Yushiro, drinking his tea as he, David, Melissa, Tomo, and Yuri were drinking tea on the porch. But the years of teaching have taught me that students grow as fast as they are willing to learn. You're definitely determined to learn, that for sure. Unbeknownst to most of them, a girl with a rifle was watching them, waiting for her prey to show. "Hey guys," yelled Izuku, getting back from a delivery. "I'm home." "Izuku Onii-chan," yelled Eri. "Izuku, we're over here," yelled Melissa. "We're having tea." "Oh hey Mr. Shield," said Izuku, running to his friends. "How are you?" Here to Vis. As he was about to get the porch, he ran face first into an invisible wall. "Izuku," said both Melissa and Eri, as they and David stood up to check on him, only to find the wall separating them from Izuku. As Izuku was getting up, before anyone could question what was going on, he heard something. A click, boom, as an explosion hit the invisible wall, covering the outside with smoke. "Nice call on the invisible wall," Tomo said, Yushiro drinking his tea calmly. "Thank you, sir." "What's going on?" the three screamed while wondering why they were so calm. "Don't worry, she won't hurt us." Outside the wall, the smoke was clearing, revealing Izuku coughing slowly, getting up from the surprise attack. "Wait, that attack. I know that attack." Well, said a voice. They turned to see a girl with a rifle over shoulder standing on a rock. "Long time no see, Izuku Midoriya. Or should I call you Demon Slayer? Yaeryoshi." He grinned. "It's time for round 2, Izuku. Next time, round 2 or 3. "Wait, what are you doing?" asked a frantic Izuku, trying to get a grip on the situation. "What does it look like?" said Yi, jumping down from the rock. "I came here for a rematch," raising her rifle at Izuku. "So come on then, let's do this." While Yi was threatening Izuku, Eri, Melissa, and David were getting a little worried about the whole situation. Seeing this, Yushiro decided he should step in. "Tomo, bring the wall down for a second." Tomo complied and followed her master out towards the two. "Yi, it's good to see you again." "Hey old man, how's it going?" "Not too bad, but I'd wish your surprise visit didn't scare our guest over there." Pointing to the others. "Was the sneak attack really necessary?" "Hey, he started it," she said, pointing at Izuku. "What?" Before he remembered how their first fight started. "That was an accident. I didn't mean to crash into you." "Bull, you jumped right in and went for the kill." "No, I didn't." "Yes, you did." As they began arguing back and forth, Melissa tapped Tomo on the shoulder. "What are they talking about, and who exactly is she?" Yushiro answered. "She's the daughter of my former bodyguard. They come by every now and then. Though 6 months ago the two agreed to have a friendly spar after Izuku got done with a delivery I asked of him." "Okay, so what happened?" Tomo chuckled a little. As per usual, Izuku got into a fight with a villain and was running late. So when he rushed back, he kinda forgot to look where he was going and crashed right into Yi. She didn't take it well and began firing at him the second she stood up, said Yushiro. Though in the end Izuku won and she lost. That's when she vowed she would return to defeat him someday, and it looks like today is that day. Yushiro watched the two squabble a bit before stopping the farce. "Okay, that enough, stop both of you." Izuku and Yi immediately stopped arguing, while Yushiro was thinking how he wanted this to go. "Sir, do you want me to delay dinner?" "Wait," said Yi, "I want my rematch." "Yi, the rematch can wait," said Izuku, getting a little annoyed. "I'll go help set up dinner." Izuku was about to go inside and help Tomo, only to be stopped by Yushiro. "A dinner and a show, that sounds like a lovely idea." "SENSEI. Yes, sure day. Oh, before I forget." She pulled out a letter, handing it to Yushiro. "My dad wanted me to give this to you. Better give it to you now before we get started." "Hold it," said Yushiro, putting the letter inside his kimono. "Tomo, set up dinner on the southern side overlooking the mountain. You two can fight on the lower side where we can watch. It's flatter with fewer trees to get in your way, and you will begin fighting at the sound of the gong." Agreed. Izuku sighed a little. Agreed. Oh, it didn't take long for Tomo to set up dinner. Everyone was eagerly waiting for the fight to get started. Melissa and Eri were slightly worried. Tomo and Yushiro weren't worried at all, though Yushiro did make sure if that things got too out of hand that Tomo would put an end to it. David, though, was curious. "So Mr. Yushiro, how good is Yi in a fight?" "Well, last time I saw her she was already at a pro hero level. Though last time her and Izuku fought it was clearly one-sided, with Izuku beating her without really trying." "So do you think he's going to win?" "Without a doubt," said Tomo, putting the food down. "Izuku has been fighting real villains. I hate to say it, but Yi doesn't really stand a chance. This should be over quickly." "I'm not so sure," said Yushiro, looking at the two ready to fight. "Yi is different now. What happened to her?" he thought as both fighters got ready down below. "Looks like both of them are ready to fight. Might as well get this started." As he walked to the edge of the hill. "Are you two ready?" "Yes, sensei," said Izuku, hand on his sword. "You know it, old man," said Yi, loading her rifle. "All right then, on the sound of the gong you may begin. The fight will end if either one of you is knocked out or is unable to continue or surrender." As he walked back towards the gong. "Hey yeah, no hard feelings when this is over," said Izuku, ready to get this over quickly. "Just you wait. I'll show you what I can do." Trying to keep her emotions in check, Yushiro was about to hit the gong when Eri asked if she could do it. Yushiro gave the mallet to the little girl, who carefully gave the gong a good hit. Ji-uong. The second she heard the gong, Yi fired 6 rapid shots at Izuku. Izuku carefully looked at them before deflecting them. Strange, none of them look like explosion rounds. That's what she opened with last time, he thought as he dashed forward at Yi, who launched another barrage at Izuku. Izuku quickly deflected and dodged them. He was about to use the breath of lightning to close the gap before a bullet grazed him from the side. He quickly turned to see more bullets coming at him. They're curving, as he dodged again. She's curving the bullets, said Melissa as they saw Yi fire at different angles and for the bullets in mid-air change directions and attack Izuku at different angles. While she has improved, last time she wasn't able to curve the bullets that well, said Yushiro. It's going to take more than that to beat Izuku, said Tomo. Izuku was having enough of this and made a dash at Yi once he saw an opening, and as expected she aimed her rifle right at him and fired several shots. Izuku got ready to deflect the bullets, though as his sword made contact with the bullets they turned into liquid metal before hardening around his blade. What he yelled, forcing to lower his blade as it began to weigh a lot more. She melted the bullets, weighing down my blade. When could she do that? He quickly put his thoughts away and tried to move, only to look down and see his foot stuck to the ground with metal. When did she? Gotcha now, said Yi as she fired more rounds at him. This time the bullets had a distinctive red glow. Explosive round, gritted Izuku. Breath of flame. Izuku quickly used the flame to melt the metal on his blade and foot, before using it to counter Yi's exploding bullets, caused the area around him to be covered in smoke. Yi knew he would come out running and have her rifle pointing at the smoke ready for him to come out. She waited for him to make a move. She waited and waited until the smoke finally cleared. What? Where is he? She quickly scanned the area. He didn't dash out of the smoke from any direction, and he doesn't have any ability to go underground, so above. As Izuku came down fast as she brought her rifle up to intercept, but Izuku was faster and with the tip of his sword deflected the barrel of her gun. Izuku was about to end the fight when suddenly she stepped forward and blocked Izuku's blade with her own. What the? Said Izuku as he looked at Yi's gun, which she was using to clash and lock with Izuku's sword. It now had a blade on the bottom of the barrel that turned it into a gun blade. Didn't see that coming, did ya? Said Yi with a cocky grin. Well, you're not gonna see this either. Bang! As Izuku felt the kick directly to his head. Izuku barely had time to see Yi's smoking foot hitting him in the face. Shit, I really did underestimate her, thought Izuku as he disengaged and ran for cover. The others above stared in shock as they saw Izuku run for cover. Wow, how did she do that? Asked Melissa. Was that some sort of equipment? Like a gun on the bottom of her foot? Like a witch? Asked Eri. Not all witches have guns on their feet, Eri said David, but if I had to guess, it's her quirk, isn't it? Yes, said Yushiro, not taking his eyes off the battlefield. Her quirk, strange metal. Ryoshi quirk, strange metal. He can produce a strange metal substance from her body that she can control. She can make it bouncy like rubber, hard as steel, or ignited it, causing it to explode. She can even change its shape. The only problem is she can make a lot of it at one time, or else she begins to hurt herself. So she can only make small objects like bullets or a large knife. Wait, I thought she could only produce and control only a bit of her metal at a time. Asked Tomo. How was she able to make a large blade? It most likely isn't a full blade, said Yushiro. Most likely she simply used the same amount she would a knife and restructured it so it could hold an attack or two from Izuku. It would probably break with too many hits. Yushiro's guess was spot on as he examined her gun blade. Damn, already chipping after a single attack. Looks like I can't fight him close range with this, she thought as she melted the metal back to the bottom of her gun. Well, looks like it's time to turn things up a notch, she said as she reached behind her to the back of her jacket. Hey Izuku, you ready? It's time to end the warm-up. Izuku peered behind the tree to see Yi holding up several gun barrels in one hand. Cause I'm all fired up. Izuku was getting nervous now. End the warm-up? What is she talking about, and since when was she this strong? She wasn't this good a few months ago. Similar thoughts were being had amongst the viewers, though all went silent as a huge blast cut through the forest. EOOOM. What the? Was all Izuku could yell as he felt a massive shock wave hit him, as if a cannonball whizzed by his head. As he got up, he could see a smoldering trail of burnt trees. As he followed the trail, he saw Yi holding her rifle that now looked like the barrel had exploded itself. Where did that power come from? Thought Izuku as Yi took off the now destroyed barrel and put a new one on. What the hell was that? Asked Tomo, now very scared for Izuku. Did she switch guns? No, Tomo, that was her quirk, said Yushiro. Those barrels must be coated on the inside with strange metal, boosting the bullet's power, though the barrels can't contain the power and break with a single shot. Hence the other barrels she has. The others had a few questions or concerns, but another huge blast broke them out of their thoughts. Damn, he's dodging it better than I was expecting. Maybe this wasn't the best idea to open up with this so soon. And oh, get those thoughts out of your head, Yi, she thought to herself, trying to keep her head in the game. I'm not the same person I was 6 months ago, she said as she loaded the third barrel. I'll show them all what I can do. Izuku dodged the second blast, though he could tell the shock waves were doing enough damage to his internal organs. Okay, I need to make a move now, or else those shocks alone will do me in. he thought as he made his decision and charged. Breath of lightning. As Izuku flashed head-on, he hesitated for a second but fired a third blast right at Izuku. Izuku saw this coming and jumped right over the shot. He cursed as she ejected the now useless barrel and reached for another. Izuku was about to get, but she did something no one expected and threw her barrelless rifle at him. Izuku used his free hand to deflect the gun and used his sword to try to end this, but when he did, she used a barrel to deflect his blade and hit him in the shoulder with another. She's using her gun barrels as eskrima sticks, thought Izuku as he began a close combat bout with Yi as they traded blows. Neither was giving an inch. Izuku began using the breath of insects to get a few cuts in while Yi began to mix in some of her blast kicks at Izuku. Okay, enough is enough as Izuku used the breath of earth to send her back a few meters. As Yi recovered, she looked at the dents in her gun barrels. He was able to dent these. At some power as flowers began to appear from her hands and wrists. He instantly dropped her 2 gun barrels. The second she did, they were sent flying away in opposite directions. Izuku was right in front of her. She quickly unzipped her jacket, revealing a white tank top and rows of throwing knives on the inside of her jacket. She quickly threw several of them as they exploded in front of Izuku, creating a smoke screen. "No, I'm not backing away," said Izuku as he made a beeline in the direction of her discarded rifle, knowing that would be where she would be headed. He tried to counterattack and threw several knives at him and in his path. Though with Izuku's speed it was tedious at best, he was able to make it to the rifle. Okay, this is over. Izuku was cut off as a bullet hit his hand, causing him to almost lose his sword. "Always have a back plan, Izuku," said Yi, holding up a revolver in each hand. Izuku began to move as she began to fire. He tried to dodge when suddenly all the bullets she just fired began to ricochet on the rocks and trees. Izuku quickly tried to turn and avoid them all but was unable to. "Come on, Izuku, you can do better than that. What did a black cat cross your path?" Izuku was in pain now. Each metal that covered him felt like he was getting slapped by All Might. The metal made it hard for him to move and the shock waves from early made it hard to breathe, but most importantly he was getting angry. As he sent another volley of bullets, Izuku used the breath of wind to send several wind blades at Yi. He had no choice but to dodge the condensed wind and keep firing until both guns ran out of ammo. Izuku in a flash of lightning closed the gap but stopped when he saw what Yi did next. He quickly created more bullets in her cleavage and used her breasts to bounce them in the air. As she spun around, she reloaded her guns. It took Izuku and several others to process what just happened. Did she just use her boobs to reload her gun?" asked Melissa, still not believing it. "I never thought I would see something like that," said David. "Have you ever seen?" He stopped as he noticed Yushiro pinching the bridge of his nose and Tomo completely livid. "Out of everyone, she uses that blonde bimbo's technique." "Tomo, calm down. She's not a bimbo. She's just an idiot that loves hot springs way too much." "Who are you guys talking about?" asked Iri. "We'll tell you later. For now, let's see what happens next." They all looked down to see making Izuku dance with her dual revolvers, and with her unique reloading technique she wasn't running out of ammo anytime soon. Izuku had no choice but to use the breath of the serpent to get away. "That's twice now she forced him to retreat," said Tomo, with her anger replaced with concern. "His skills with dual guns is remarkable," said Yushiro. "I haven't seen such skill in years, not since Two Hands sailed the seas." This only caused a few confused faces. She was a pirate at the dawn of quirks who was an expert at dual-wielding guns. Before they could say a huge pillar of fire cut through the air. Izuku used the fire to melt the bits of metal still on him as he stared down Yi, who was picking up her rifle. "All right, that's what I'm talking about," said Yi, putting her last barrel on her gun. "The breath of the sun. Your strongest fighting style. I got something for that." As she held up a special round that was glowing blue. "I'm at my limit physically and my quirk is pushing it. If I make any more from my arms, feet, or chest, I'm going to run the risk of tearing my skin. It's this or nothing," thought Yi as she loaded the round. "I'm running on fumes," thought Izuku. "She's pushed me farther than anyone else. My body hurts and I can feel my lungs fill with blood. If I don't get her with this attack, I'm gonna lose." "Master, we need to stop this," said Tomo. "Now, I think she's right," said David. "This is going too far." "I know, and I think the mountain agrees," said Yushiro, pointing behind Yi. "Crack. All right, time to end this." As Yi raised her rifle. Crunch. "I agree, Yi. Look out behind you," yelled Izuku. "Break. Really, Izuku? That isn't going to," said Yi as the top half of a tree hit the top of her head. Though to everyone's surprise, half a tree wasn't enough to knock her down. "No, this fight isn't over." As she finally collapsed to the ground, Izuku didn't know what to do but just stared at Yi's unconscious body. It just didn't seem real with how the fight was going. Izuku didn't move until Yushiro came up to him and lightly slapped his stomach, causing him to vomit blood. "Zuku," said the others as they joined him. "Don't worry, he's just fine," said Yushiro as he went to check up on Yi. "Izuku, are you all right?" asked Melissa. Izuku could only shake his head. "But you won," said Iri, hugging his leg. "No, he didn't," said Yushiro, pulling on Yi's jacket, causing several bullets and knives to fall out. She had several more tricks up her sleeves. They maybe weren't as powerful as what she was about to hit you with, but she had way more in the gas tank than you, and her lungs aren't filling up with blood. Izuku could only hang his head in shame. Also, during the close combat exchange, she scored more hits in, and she was able to hit you several times with her bullet, he said, walking up to Izuku. Though I guess we should have expected that after the superb performance she showed us, but the one thing I expected you to do was not to freeze the second you saw her chest bounce. Izuku's face instantly turned red from the memory. Well, how was I supposed to see that coming? It doesn't matter if you were expecting it or not. You shouldn't freeze just because you see a girl giggle a little, he said with a complete straight face. Izuku was still a little embarrassed about that part, but overall still hurt over his loss. Is he going to be okay? She'll be fine. For a normal person, I would say they would be out for a day, but for ye, I'd say about 3 hours. After that, you can continue where you left off or start round 3. That's for you guys to decide. But for now, Tomo, take ye to a spare room and prepare the bean tea for her and Izuku. Tomo nodded before bending down to Yi, and in a flash both of them disappeared. Come now, Izuku, you still have dinner waiting for you. He nodded as he made his way back to the house. Will he be okay? Asked David, staying behind with Yushiro. He'll be fine. This is his first loss since he received training from me. He's fought villain after villain and won each time. His confidence will be bruised along with what little ego he has. Though if I were honest, I'd say this was a good thing, because it's far better to get a loss from a friend than it is to receive one from an enemy. Hey, said Eri, running up to the two men. We'll leave you behind. We're coming, Eri. Hey, I got a question. How did the mountain know to stop the fight? David laughed a little at the girl. The mountain doesn't really think. It was just a coincidence. She then looked over to Yushiro to confirm this. Though his only response was a smug smirk, David got an irritated look. If I ask the question, you're just going to give me a vague answer, aren't you? You're learning. Oh. They all went back inside, and Tomo quickly brought Izuku some bean tea. Melissa then explained to her father that the beans used in the tea were actually beans made from a quirk and have super healing properties. Though since the beans take a long time to grow, Yushiro discovered a way to make them last longer by turning it into tea, which made a single bean last longer and heal several people. Though the surprising part was that it was made by a cat in a tower. While that was happening, Izuku quickly drank his tea and ate his dinner, still a little down. Though he made sure to record every part of the fight down in his notebooks. It was actually a surprising sight as he was doing this in the living room for everyone to see. No matter how many times those who have seen it before have, it still was incredible on how well he could take notes. Though Eri was happy Izuku wasn't taking the loss too hard, she still wanted to cheer him up. Hey Tomo, she said, pulling on Tomo's kimono. Can we have dessert? Of course, Eri. What would you like? Eri quickly went to Izuku. Izuku Onii-chan, what do you want for dessert? Oh, I'm not really sure. What do you want? Eri wanted him to say what he wanted. Milkshake. Do you want a milkshake? A milkshake sounds great. Tomo, I can definitely make you guys some milkshakes. Oh wait, our blender is still broken. Melissa instantly tensed at the mention of the broken blender, which didn't go unnoticed by her father. What happened to the blender? Wait, did you let Melissa into the kitchen? He said as the words stabbed Melissa. Yep, said Yushiro, you could have warned us about that one. Melissa felt more stabbies. Sorry, to be honest, we have chiefs and robots cook for us back at Island, so we never really had to use our kitchen for cooking. Clearly, though Eri, Izuku can take you and get you some milkshakes in the city. Really, said Eri, hoping this would cheer up Izuku. Sensei, Izuku, I know your mind is elsewhere, but a distraction may be good for you to clear your head a little. Okay, if you say so. Melissa, you want to come with? Nah, she said, recovering from the words. I think I'm going to work on my project for a bit. Okay, come on, Eri, said Izuku as he knelt down so Eri could hop on his back. When they made it to the entrance of the house, they dashed down the mountain toward the city for a sweet treat. Oh, hey boss, the Demon Slayer kid just entered the city. Really, where is he? It looks like he just entered the mall. Alright, stay on him while I gather the others. It's time to put that brat in his place. Next time, milkshakes and mall chaos. He laid there in the middle of the training hall, bleeding from her arms and legs, with hundreds if not thousands of bits of metal lying around her. She was barely holding on to consciousness, but she could hazily make out her father's appearance. Oh hey dad, she said weakly, but at the same time trying to sound like nothing was wrong. What are you doing? He said, gently holding his daughter. You used your quirk way too much. You're ripping the flesh right off your body. I have to get it back, she said, beginning to cry. I'm so weak. My quirk is weak. I can't make a sword or hammer without my skin breaking. I thought when I was able to make complex bullets I could be strong like you. Strong enough to follow you, to beat bad guys and help you and mom, but I can't. He took it. I have to get it back. In a single day he took all my hard work and threw it away. I have to get stronger. I have to prove to myself I'm strong. Stop it. You're strong, he said, trying to reassure his daughter. No, I have to be stronger. It's all I have. I will beat him. I will beat Izuku. Oh, said Yi, waking up in a bed holding her head. My head. What happened? It took a moment for Yi to remember what happened. That stupid tree. Wait a minute, the branch knocked me out. Not Izuku. He ran from our fight, she said before grabbing her gear and rushing out of the room. Oh, Melissa sat in the workshop looking at her weapon she was working on. When Melissa discovered her quirk, she realized that something like a gymnastic ribbon works surprisingly well for her, and Yushiro thought it would be best if she learned a little bit of swordplay, so she has been working on a hybrid sword whip that could collapse into the hilt. She was working on this and several other ribbon-themed support items that would work well with her quirk. She had made some progress with some, but finally put the finishing touches on the blade. Melissa tested it as the blade successfully retracted into the hilt. Perfect, she said before screaming as the door was slammed open. Izuku, screamed Yi as she entered the room. Where's Izuku? Huh? Oh, you're the foreign girl. Do you know where Izuku is? Izuku's not here at the moment, said Melissa as she put her new weapon down. He went into the city with Eri. As she grabbed her Heart Eye Island hoodie, but the letters were so faded the only thing you could make out was the large faded pink heart. I'm Melissa, by the way, she said holding out her hand. Ryoshi. As they shook hands. Eri. Who's Eri? Is she that little girl I saw? Yep. Melissa put on her hoodie and grabbed her new toy, ready to show it to her father. They went out for milkshakes. They went out for milkshakes, said Yi in a neutral tone. They went out for milkshakes and left us. Melissa visible jumped at Yi's sudden yell. Come on, as Yi grabbed Melissa. Oh, so your friend's a little disappointed with the halt of the project, said Yushiro as he sipped his tea. Unfortunately, yes. He had a lot of hopes for it, said David, also enjoying his tea. Before Yushiro could reply, Yi burst into the room. Old man, you're up only after 2 hours. Impressive. He was about to say something before getting dizzy and Melissa having to steady her. Before anything else, how about you drink some of the healing tea we have? Tomo, here, said Tomo holding the teapot and a teacup. It's a little cold, so if you want I can warm it up for you. He ignored the cup and grabbed the pot from Tomo and began to drink directly from the pot. Before they knew it, she drank every last drop. Man, even when this stuff is cold it still hits the spot. Wow, you are just full of surprises. Ignoring Tomo, Yi continued, hey old man, can me and Melissa go after Izuku? As long as you two stay together and all 4 of you are back before 10. I have no problems. Wait, hold up, sensei, dad, said Melissa, surprised about this sudden change of plans. She wanted her dad to say something, but he was glowing with happiness. My daughter is finally hanging out with people her age, making it sound like she had no social life, which she didn't but would never admit. Dad, alright, let's go. Tomo, make us a portal. Wait, said Melissa, trying to get Yi's attention. I'm still in sweats and haven't taken a shower or done my. Don't worry about it, said Yi, grabbing the hood on her hoodie and pulling it over her head. Just keep your hood on and no one will even know who you are. Tomo pulled a key from her sleeve and put it into the air. And as if opening a lock, a portal appeared in the middle of the room. This will take you right outside the mall Izuku and Eri are at. The mall is within your guys' running distance, but if you need a pickup, don't hesitate to call. He didn't think twice and grabbed Melissa by the arm against her protests and jumped through the portal. I'm a little surprised how quickly you accepted Melissa to go out, said Yushiro as the portal closed behind the girls. She's spent most of her time with scientists and hasn't had a chance to be a kid, said David. Besides, how much trouble can 4 kids get into? Yushiro and Tomo looked at each other before giving David a deadpan stare. You might regret saying that. Oh, calm down, you need to relax, said Ochako Uraraka to herself. The test is in 3 months, just sit down and enjoy your milkshake. As she made her way to a table in the middle of the mall, hoping her sweet snack would calm her down. She was getting more and more nervous about the UA test as the months went by. It was starting to get to her. She did even realize she bumped into someone. Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay, said Izuku, holding 2 milkshakes. Demon Slayer. Ochako couldn't believe it. She just bumped into the person everyone is talking about. Japan's youngest vigilante in recent years. What are you doing here? Getting some milkshakes to satisfy this one's sweet tooth, he said, giving one of the shakes to Eri, who happily began to drink up her shake. He then reached down and picked up a cell phone on the ground. It was showing an article on things to expect during the UA entrance exam. Is this phone yours? Yes, that's mine. I'm sorry, it must have fallen out when we bumped into each other. So planning on going to UA? Yeah, she said while pushing her fingers together. It's going to be tough, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Do you have any advice for an amateur like me? Advice? Well, what advice could I give? We're the same age and I'm not a professional yet. I'm not a pro yet. That's right, I'm still learning. Maybe I have been rushing a little, thought Izuku, realizing he may have been taking his loss early a little hard. I just need to learn from it. Mr. Slayer, are you okay? Said Ochako, pulling Izuku out of his thoughts. Sorry, you kinda went silent for a minute. Oh, I'm sorry, I kinda got lost in thought there. Oh, and I'm Izuku Midoriya. Sorry about the late introduction. I'm Ochako Uraraka. Well, Ms. Uraraka, the best advice I can give right now would be to keep calm and to stay on your toes. You won't do any good if you're a nervous wreck. So keep calm and be ready to move. You won't get anywhere if you freeze up in the middle of the exam. Okay, I'll give it a shot, said Ochako before something unexpected happened. He hugged her and for a moment her mind went blank before he pulled her out of the way as a chair came flying across the dining area. When Izuku let her go, she saw several big men walking towards them. Demon Slayer, we've been looking for you, said a man covered in metal. He had several goons flanking them. Some of them were still wearing prison jumpsuits. Aren't you that bank robber whose arm I broke? Said Izuku looking at the growing crowd of criminals. What a minute, didn't I take several of you guys down? Yeah, you did, said a man with spikes coming out of his arms. A good friend gave us an early release so we can come down here and show you our appreciation. The man covered in metal stepped forward. So how about you sit there and let us? Hey, said Yi, coming and performing a flying kick to the man's face, sending the man flying. Hey, we ain't done with our fight. What are you doing here? Asked Izuku, more surprised at Yi being here than the criminals. You were knocked out. Shouldn't you be in bed or on your way home? I came here looking for you, said Yi like it was the obvious thing to do. How was I supposed to leave with an ending to a fight like that? You just kick a man, said Melissa, catching up to her friends. What, you can't just kick a random person? Actually, that was a criminal that's here for revenge, clarified Izuku. And what are you doing here? I kinda got dragged here. Wait, these guys are criminals? Izuku nodded. Melissa began to quietly panic. I'm not ready for this, she said in a whisper. Wait a minute, said Yi, getting everyone's attention. All these guys here are criminals. Perfect. Receiving odd looks from everyone, even the stunned criminals. Time for round 3. The person who takes out the most criminals wins. What? Yelled Melissa. We're in the middle of a mall and there are already heroes nearby. We can get in a lot of trouble. You can join in if you want. Melissa turned to Izuku for some semblance of common sense. Well, we do need to do something about them. Nope, common sense has left the room. Izuku grabbed his sword. All right, let's dance. Oh, ding dong went the doorbell. Inko opened the door, revealing her friend Mitsuki. Mitsuki, it's so good to see. Yo, Inko, how have you been? Been doing as good as I can be. Come in, I've got some tea brewing for us, said Inko, ushering Mitsuki into the living room. As Mitsuki walked into the living, she saw the wall that was filling up with newspaper clippings of Izuku's exploit. Mitsuki was happy to see Inko doing better or as good as can be in this odd situation. She could tell her friend has been suffering with the disappearance and reappearance of her child. Mitsuki herself felt guilty knowing her own child was responsible for the separation. Here you go, said Inko, giving a teacup to Mitsuki. So how's Katsuki been? He's been doing all right. He's actually become quiet nowadays. If he isn't studying, he's training. A lot. He's even been training with that Kirishima kid. Really? I didn't think they knew each other. Yep, about a month after that kid visited you, Katsuki tracked the kid down for an interrogation. After that, the next thing I know, the kid came by to train with Katsuki. That's good, Katsuki is making a new friend. After Izuku's disappearance, Katsuki had become a loner and not many people in his school would even talk to him. Inko's phone gave a quick beep. Oh, it's almost time for the news. Oh, come now, Inko. Izuku has gotten popular, but he isn't going to show up every night on the news. Inko tuned on the news. Demon Slayer and 2 unidentified teenage girls are currently taking on a horde of villains at the Lone Pine Mall. We take you now to the scene. What the TV showed could only really be described as chaos. Thank you, Deku. Things here are going crazy. A girl with a rifle is riding on a bull villain while firing what could be described as a liquid metal that is sticking these men to the wall. A hooded girl is somersaulting and tossing men twice her size and using some sort of ribbon sword to counter those with firearms. Look, she just did a double front flip on that guy. Wait, are those 3 over there floating? Crash, look, it's Demon Slayer, and did he just summon a water dragon? As the TV showed Izuku slamming a huge water dragon into a group of villains. Well, looks like I was wrong, said Mitsuki, watching the madness unfold. Yep, my little hero is out there saving the world, said Inko, on the verge of tears. I can't wait for him to come home. She might have been crying if the TV didn't recapture her attention. Hold it, all of you, right now, said the metal criminal, who was now sporting a huge black eye and currently holding a gun to a little girl in a pink Hiyori drinking a milkshake. The odd thing was the girl wasn't really paying him any attention. She was totally relaxed, even with a firearm pointed directly at her, as if this was nothing more than a stranger saying hello to her. Crap, it's the first one I kicked, said the rifle girl. I thought I put him out. Pointed her gun right at him and looked ready to fire before Izuku and hooded girl began waving their arms and making the throat-slashing movement as if warning him of something. Nobody move, or the man then swapped the girl's milkshake, spilling the contents all over the ground. This girl gets it. That's when the little girl screamed, "My milkshake." Oh, dear Master Yushiro, I'm sorry for not coming around more, but my work beckons me. You have done so much for my family. I hate to ask you of this, but I need your help. It's you. My beautiful daughter has grown up so quickly it's made me realize I may have failed in my duties as a parent. You were right. My work has brought me to every corner of the world, and even though it has put food on the table, it hasn't provided a stable home for my family. You warned me of this, and it is only now to see how right you are. My daughter has been robbed of her childhood and her view had become narrowed. She has spent her life following me in my jobs of hunting elusive criminals. She has only been shown the strength of pros and law enforcement alike, causing her to believe she has to be strong, and I fear it will bring her down a troubled path. It truly showed after her defeat at the hands of young Midoriya. It also showed what I believe she needs. She needs to be around children her age. She needs to see what life is like from a normal perspective, or as normal as a hero society can get. I've suggested hero school before, but she quickly rebuffed the idea. Though I believe a hero school would be best for her. Give her the right balance of a normal life and an adventurous one, with peers that she can connect with. So please, if you can find a way to convince her to give it a try. I think she will find what she is missing. Please help my daughter. Your humble servant and friend, Matazo Ryoshi. Yushiro was staring at the letter when David came back from the restroom. Is that the letter Yi gave you? Yep, said Yushiro, giving the letter to David, deeming it safe for him to read. Her father believes he failed his daughter. I think you can relate to that. David quickly read the letter. From the looks of it, his jobs makes him travel a lot. Yes, Yushiro nodded. I definitely can relate to something like that. With my job at I-Island and Melissa's incredible intelligence, I felt like she wasn't given the chance to be a child or even experience a life with another her age in a stable environment. It was common for scientists to come and go on I-Island, so it was hard for Melissa to keep any friends. Matazo Ryoshi. That name sounds familiar. I'm not surprised. Matazo is a bounty hunter of sorts. He's the guy they call in to hunt down dangerous and elusive criminals, but what he is best known for is capturing animals that have quirks and people who try to use them. Like those kids who were riding giant armored spiders in South America, or the reindeer near Super Train causing people to hallucinate, or I know the one you probably heard about, the giant red dog in the States. Oh, I remember that one. A dog turned giant overnight and ran after a truck full of doggy treats. That's the one. Didn't they make a TV show about the dog? The Giant Good Boy. Aries watched a few episodes. Honestly, if it wasn't for that show, that dog would have eaten them out of house and home. So Matazo was the one who was able to catch the dog and handle the situation. I met Matazo when we were dealing with a highly intelligent gorilla. Afterwards, we dealt with various other creatures, and over the years his exploits have become bigger and bigger, and he has seen a lot of them. The biggest thing she wants to do is follow her father's footsteps. With how much they've moved and how little social interaction she's had, strength and the ability to take down the biggest beast there is all that matters in her eyes. Even though Matazo didn't hit her or abuse her, he has unintentionally taken much from her and given her a big shadow to live under. I can relate to that. When Melissa was told she was quirkless, she tried relentlessly to become the greatest support inventor there ever was. Though I could tell her heart was never fully into it, and every time I made something her heart sank a little more. All she knew were the science of I-Island and the heroes that visited it. Honestly, sometimes I wondered if I should have let her live with some relatives or All Might. Maybe then she could find something. Don't treat yourself so harshly. I've seen worse, and you're trying the best you can, and you want to do better. That put a smile on David's face. Same with Matazo. He just wants what's best for Yi, and I think he might be right, but she's boar-headed and convincing her might be a challenge. Scratch that, it will be a challenge, said Yushiro, imagining how that conversation will go. David thought it would be best to change the subject. Do you think Eri will be fine growing up here? Yasuhiro was caught off guard by the question. To be honest, I don't know. She's more than welcome to stay here after we are done with fixing her quirk, but if she wants to go somewhere else, I wouldn't mind making the arrangements. Really? You're not worried something would happen to her if she leaves? What if someone attacks her? She's more than capable of protecting herself if she gets in a fight. Does she have control of her quirk? No, though through her treatment an interesting side effect happened. When we started to fix her body and focused her quirk inward, her body began to condense her muscles in a way. What do you mean? You know how when muscles fibers tear and grow back stronger than what they were before? David nodded. Her quirk began to act strange when we began to operate. Her body began to rewind forward in a way. Her muscles, bones, and certain parts of her body that were destroyed by overhaul began to return and heal, or combine, if you will, with her body like the muscles of someone who was working out. The muscles and bone fibers broke and healed stronger than before, causing her muscles to gain the density equivalent to the amount of times overhaul killed her. I believe it was her quirk's way of adapting to working on the inside of her body. Wait, are you saying her quirk combined with your operations caused her body to heal and strengthen to the amount of times she was tortured? Yushiro smirked, said it all. But that means she could have the muscle density of All Might. Not All Might levels of strength, but you would definitely mistaken her for having a strength quirk. That's why I pity the idiot that tries to pick a fight with her. Overhaul may have just created his own worst enemy. Tomo instantly appeared in the room, causing both men to jump a little. Sorry, sir, but you have to see this. She turned on the TV, showing a lot of chaos at the mall and several familiar faces at the center. David's jaw fell as he watched the TV. So what was that about? How much trouble could 4 kids get into? Oh, you, slam, killed, slam, my, slam, Milkshake screamed Yuri as she tossed around the metal bank robber around like a rag doll. Beside the pain, the only other thing going through the man's mind was, I should have just become a plumber like Mom wanted, before throwing the man into a wall. The man was alive but regretting so much. Holy crap, said Yi, grinning ear to ear at the display. Where were you keeping her? She's awesome. Yuri-chan, are you okay? Asked Melissa, comforting the girl, who was tired and still sad over her fallen milkshake. Don't worry, Yuri, said Izuku, putting his sword away. We can get you a milkshake next time. He patted her head. All right, looks like we took care of all of them, said Yi, joining the rest of them. Wait, who was keeping score? Really, yeah, said Izuku, looking at his friend. You know, keeping score and all that isn't what hero work is all about. Yi only raised her eyebrow. Yi, look around, not only did we stop the bad guys, we made sure no one got hurt. As Izuku said this, a crowd began to gather around, clapping and cheering for them. Yeah, way to go, Demon Slayer. Did you see those girls? They kicked ass. The little one is so cute. Can I get an autograph and your number? Chicks with guns can't get better than that. He was visible, blushing at the attention. She couldn't help but feel a warm feeling in her chest. She couldn't help but enjoy the attention. She's never been the center of attention before, not like this. Hold it right there. You're all under arrest, said a booming voice, ruining the moment. They all turned to see the number 2 hero, Endeavor. They could all feel the tension in the air as Endeavor slowly walked towards them with a serious look in his eyes. You kids have caused enough trouble for one day, and your days of being a vigilante has ended. Crap, thought Izuku. He was ready for a fight while Melissa was trying not to freak out, hoping to not get arrested. Your face is on fire, yelled Yuri, breaking the tension. PFFT. Izuku had to stop himself from laughing as he heard some people in the crowd chuckle. Yuri-chan, that's just his quirk and it's part of his costume. Wait, that fire's real? Asked Yi. Wait, how do you see? Doesn't the haze mess with your vision? The curiosity was able to calm Melissa's nerves. Actually, his quirk should give him some resistance, but doesn't that get into your eyes, or do you have some sort of contact lens? These questions only serve to annoy Endeavor. Enough, you're all under arrest and you'll have your questions answered down at the police station. Can't, we got a curfew. Sighed Yi. Wait, why do we have a curfew? Again. We have to get Yuri home before her bedtime, informed Izuku. What, I'm not even tired yet, Yuri said through a yawn. Izuku chuckled. I think we've had enough excitement for one day, as he kneeled down to let Yuri on his back. Come on, we should head back. Hold it. Endeavor's fire flared. I've already repeated myself enough, none of you are going anywhere. He grinned, really flame face. She pulled her jacket up slightly, causing a few metal orbs to drop. From the second they hit the ground, the area became flooded with light. Endeavor tried to quickly rush and grab at least one of them, but the second his vision was clear, he was surrounded in mist. See you next time, flame face, yelled the girl's voice, leaving Endeavor angry and having to deal with the cleanup and vowing to catch them next time. Oh, we are in so much trouble, yelled Melissa, freaking out as they ran back to the mountain. My dad is going to kill me. If she wasn't freaking out, she would have realized that she is finally breaking her running record and was currently running over 60 miles per hour. How are we going to get to UA now? Relax, Melissa, said Izuku as he ran beside her. Sensei said he had plans to help me and I'm sure he can help. Yeah, what are you crying about? This was fun, said Yi. Fun? We could have ruined our chances to get UA, said Melissa with tears rolling down her eyes as the fear of her dreams shattering. UA, that's the hero school, right? Hey, why do you guys want to be heroes? They both slowed down for a second as they looked at Yi, and Melissa needed a moment to gather her thoughts before Izuku spoke. I've always wanted to be a hero. I used to watch a video of All Might saving people, and for the longest time, and most likely till the day I die, I think that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I want to help people and save people with a smile on my face just like him. I will be the #1 hero and I will save as many people as I can, and I'll do with everything that Sensei Yashiro has taught me so I can be pillar of hope for everyone, even other pillars. Other pillars. Of course, if All Might can do so much as the symbol of hope and pillar of peace, imagine what more could do. I want to find others so we can all hold up this world together. Melissa and Yi couldn't help but look at Izuku with a bit of admiration. Both of them have been around the world, and to have the desire to help all of it seemed impossible, but there was no doubt in his voice. He would do it. But to answer your question, I want to help people, plain and simple. He had one response. Cool. Oh, hey old man, said Yi, running into the living room, finding Yushiro reading some papers. Yeah, said Yushiro, heard you an eventful night. Is Izuku putting Yuri to bed? No, we ran into Tomo and she wants Yuri to take a bath, and Melissa is apologizing to her dad for some reason. I can hear them from here. When they weren't talking, they could clearly hear Melissa frantically apologizing to her father. She's still worried that her overbearing father may send her back to Island. Okay, now how to convince Yi to go to school. She's boar-headed and likes to fight. I should try to use that. I have something to talk to you about. Hey, can you send me to UA? Huh, I want to go to UA. I want to show people what a real hero looks like, and it will give me a chance to beat strong opponents like Izuku. So can you do it? Oh yeah, sure, I can do that for you. Alright, she said, pumping her fists into the air. So what did you want to talk about? Oh, forget about it. For now, let's call your father and tell him you want to go to UA, said Yushiro, a bit happy how easy this was. Let's just hope now she can get along with other students and doesn't kill them. He grinned. I can't wait to add more trophies to my wall. Yushiro felt the sweat drop on his head. This is going to need some work. Oh, hey, wake up. How, what happened? Asked Ragdoll, rubbing her eyes. You fell asleep at the computer again. You know there are better places to fall asleep than at the computer, said Pixie Bob. What were you even looking at anyway? What, are you serious? You're still looking into those urban myths about that missing mountain? You were supposed to put in the report about the hikers we saved. Ragdoll hung her head in embarrassment. I'm sorry. I'll do it right away. Don't bother. You can do it later. We have a guy downstairs. Another rescue mission. No, this is something different. So come on, we got a guy downstairs. How can you be so interested in those fake stories anyway? How do you know that it's fake? Who knows, there could be a missing mountain that has been lost for hundreds of years. Ragdoll, we have had satellite GPS for hundreds of years, okay? All the mountains around the world have been discovered. Your mountain doesn't exist now, come on, it's time for some real work, said Pixie Bob. Ragdoll pouted but followed her. Both Pixie Bob and Ragdoll made their way downstairs to see Mandalay, Tiger, and a cab driver looking at the TV. That's the girl I was telling you about. Both of them looked on the TV to see the newscast about a horde of villains attacking Demon Slayer at the mall. Said target was assisted by 2 teenage girls. The TV then showed the 3 easily taking on the group of villains and single-handedly doing it with ease. Hey, I'm sorry, did we miss something? Asked Pixie Bob. Mr. Utenshu, said Mandalay. Would you mind starting from the beginning so our friends here could get the whole story? Yes, of course, said the man. My name is Taku Utenshu. I'm a cab driver. Early this day, that girl on the TV, the one with the rifle, asked me to take her to an address in the middle of nowhere. It was really weird. All that was out there was fields, but the odd part and the reason I'm here was what happened on the way there. During the entire drive, she was cleaning her rifle and checking her ammunition. When she first brought it out, I thought I was gonna get robbed, but she just sat there and calmly kept cleaning her gun. When I finally got up the courage to ask what she was doing, she said that she was going to hunt someone in the mountains, but we were nowhere near any mountain. When I brought up the fact, she actually said she would usually just run to the mountain on foot, but she wanted to save her strength for the hunt. Shortly after that, I dropped her off on a dirt road near some tree, but the closest mountain was miles away. I told my boss about it over the radio, but he said the girl was just some crazy we should just forget about. So I brought out a map, and from the direction I saw her walk in, the mountains around here are her destination, so I came to see you guys cause you guys know these mountains better than anyone. The heroes waited patiently for him to finish, each forming their own thoughts and opinions on the situation. Clearly, though, she isn't on any mountain, said Tiger as he was looking at the TV. Did she mention anything else? Target, conditions, anything that we could use? No, to be honest, I was too scared to ask, said Taku. I never had anyone openly clean a gun in the back of my cab before. Well, she is definitely not a regular girl, said Ragdoll. Trained and looks like she's ready for a hunt. Even though her quirk couldn't work through screens, she has picked up on a few analytical tricks over the years. Yeah, but not much of a fashion sense, said Pixie Bob. That jacket looks kinda tacky, and it makes her look like she should be on top of a mountain somewhere. She is not a city girl. This prompted Mandalay to roll her eyes at her friend. Fashion sense aside, this raises a lot of questions, and I'm sure we aren't the only ones asking. Hey, your cab has a video camera that recorded the whole ride, right? Do you mind if we have a copy of it? Of course, go for it, said the driver. The company is more than happy to assist heroes any way we can. It's just a bit of paperwork. Oh, and I'm going to need a spare thumb drive to put the footage on. All right then, Tiger, get the paperwork ready. This has officially become part of an investigation. Pixie, go get us a thumb drive. And Ragdoll. Mandalay took a deep breath. I didn't want to get involved with this, but call up Night Eye and tell him we got something for him. Okay, said Ragdoll as each of them went to get their task done. Ragdoll, called Mandalay, causing her to stop after the others had left. Also tell him to save us some seats. We're going to that meeting. Woohoo, team up time. Next time, promised meeting. Ew, slam, killed, slam, my, slam, Milkshake screamed Eri as she tossed around the metal bank robber around like a rag doll. The clip ended with Eri tossing the robber. Play it again, said Overhaul as his eyes were glued to the computer screen. A voice-activated computer complied and replayed the video. As he was watching the video, the rest of the Yakuza were watching him. Hey Chrono, shouldn't we stop him or do something? Asked Mimic as they stared at their boss watching the same clip over and over again. Chrono didn't know how to respond to this situation. His was the first time he had ever seen him act like this. For years he had never known Overhaul to be so fixated on a video clip. Then again, all of them were quite surprised to see Eri on the news manhandling a man 10 times her size like he was some sort of stuffed animal. It actually made some of them nervous because they knew what she had been through and she was currently on the other side with very powerful friends. We just need to give him a moment. When we get the military off our backs and get the deals flowing, things will go back to normal. Nemec was a bit hesitant but nodded in agreement. If you ask me, I don't think that's healthy, said a voice right behind them. They both on instinct brought their weapons out and pointed it at the origin of the voice, which turned out to be a mass of black mist. Whoa, slow down, there were friends, remember, said Kirigiri, the ambassador and portal man of the League of Villains. I just came to grab you guys for the meeting. The members of the Yakuza lowered their weapons as they remembered that the latest meeting between the two groups was today. They've had an okay relationship with the League for a bit. The first few meetings were a bit rocky between Overhaul and their leader Shigaraki, though it looks like they are getting along a bit better. Somewhat. Now they could at least get through a meeting together without one of them firing off one of their quirks, though they mostly play nice out of respect for all for one. Though none of the Yakuza members could deny the benefits of working with them. They had more manpower and new places they could lie low for a while. Sorry about that, said Chrono, holtering his firearm. We are just going to need a minute too. Don't worry about it, Chrono, said Overhaul, shutting down the computer. We're ready to go. Grabbing a suitcase. Come on, let's get this meeting over with. Oh, when is this meeting going to get started? Said Endeavor in a demanding voice. Both he and Vernon were sitting and waiting for the meeting about the child vigilante problem to get started. Calm down, Endeavor, said Hawks, leaning back in his chair with his legs on the desk. This meeting is off the books with quite a few heroes in on it. It's going to take a bit for everyone to get here. Hey, I'm just surprised with all the heroes that are here in the first place, said Ryukyu, the dragon hero. I honestly didn't expect to see some high-ranking heroes here today. These vigilantes have been the talk of the town lately, said Manadle, sitting next to the other members of the Wild Pussycats, not to mention all the questions surrounding them. Actually, I have a question, said Tiger. Why are students here? This is a hero meeting and one that's technically not sanctioned. PFFD, the sound came from Vernon. My big question is why a team of second-rate heroes are here, said Vernon, antagonizing the Pussycats. This isn't a rescue mission. This did not go well with them. Pixabub got out of her chair fast. Hey, we're here because we got some important information. Information that can help us catch these kids. Yeah, so back off, said Ragdoll, backing up her friend while sticking her tongue out at Vernon. This got Endeavor's attention. Really? Well then hand it over. You're all wasting my time here. Whoa, let's all slow down here, said Fat Gum. I got some extra takoyaki if anyone wants some. As for your question, Tiger, these three are heroes. Each of them have a hero's license and they are brave enough to take the job. Mirio nodded from his seat with Bubble Girl and Centipider. We're ready to do what it takes. Yep, Nejire, I have so many questions for all of you, and Demon Slayer, ain't that right, Tamaki? Tamaki stayed silent, hanging his head too shy to say anything. Ooh, how about I ask you guys some questions? Many of the heroes began to get annoyed by the energetic girl. You can do that later, young Hato, said a booming All Might as he, Night Eye, Detective Naomasa, and Gran Torino came through the door. Sorry to keep you all waiting. Now let's get started. Night Eye. I got a question, said Ragdoll, raising her hand as if she was in school. If the police aren't supposed to be involved, why is a detective here? Detective Naomasa smiled as he took his jacket off. I guess I'll go first. As you all know, the police have been extremely lax in arresting Demon Slayer and his friends. The reason for this is even unknown to us. The chief of police has questioned government officials several times about this, and all he's got are vague answers. He's fed up to the point of asking a few people to investigate off the books to get some answers. So even though this meeting is unsanctioned by the government, you do have the backing of the police department. This took some weight off the shoulders of some of the heroes present. So wait, not even the police have any answers about this? Asked Hawks as Naomasa shook his head. Well, that gives us an even bigger problem. Why is the government protecting this kid? I don't think I've ever heard of the government protecting a bona fide vigilante. That's kinda why I'm here, said Fat Gum between chewing. A few years ago I worked with some vigilantes and the government deal with some drug traffickers. The vigilantes in question were two kids and an old guy that kinda got dragged into the situation against their will. Can't give those civs props for handling the situation as well as they did. But that's beside the point. The government only helps vigilantes out if they had no choice but to become vigilantes for a good reason, like they or a relative has been targeted by a villain. To do this, though, they need to have to work with the government, and not a single one of my contacts in the government have ever talked, let alone make a deal with Demon Slayer. Out of everyone here, I most likely have had the most experience dealing and working with the government. If he is working with the government, then it has to be high up, very high up. All the heroes took a moment to ponder over Fat Gum's words before Vernon thought of something. Wait, do you mean to tell me that my tax dollars are going to a kid so he can play hero? You can rest assured, Burnin, our tax dollars aren't going to the boy, said Night Eye, adjusting his glasses. Thanks to Gran Torino here we have discovered someone else is paying for the boy's escapades. Person, said Ryukyu, it would have to be one rich son of a gun to pay off the government. Unfortunately, it seems no one in the government is being paid off, said Night Eye, typing on his computer. All Might gave a dry chuckle. Here comes the scary part. You see, every incident that the boy and his friends are involved in, every single bill for the destruction, reconstruction, hospital bills for both the villains and civilians are all paid off by the same person. What? That's impossible, said Hawks. The amount of money would be astronomical. We asked Nezu, the principal of UA, to check the math, and in my free time I double-checked it. He said as the bills and math appeared on the projector behind him. Every person in the room could only stare at the amount at the end. No one could say a word. For a moment you could clearly hear a pin drop in the room. Hawks actually fell out of his chair looking at the number. Mandalay slowly raised her voice. I think you added a few too many zeros to that. Afraid not, little lady, said Gran Torino. That's every bill added up since Demon Slayer appeared up to 2 weeks ago. How in the hell, screamed Burnin, Pixabob and Bubble Girl. Tiger was slowly coming out of the shock as Ragdoll's eyes kept swirling. Hawks slowly picked himself off the ground as Fat Gum began to drool, thinking of all the takoyaki he could buy with that money. If some of you could please return to reality, we got some more information to go over, said Gran Torino. This just proves that whoever is doing this isn't obtaining this money legally, said Endeavor. This has to be the work of some supervillain working in the shadows. You are absolutely correct, Endeavor, said All Might. We did some research on where this money was coming from, and to our surprise it was coming from bank accounts. Bank accounts from people from over 100 years ago. 100 years ago, said Ryukyu, remembering what they said about the government. So let me get this straight. Some guy is paying for all of this, using money that hasn't been touched for 100 years, and is most likely paying off people in the government for these kids. Why? It doesn't make any sense. What could anyone have to gain from any of this? They all frowned at this. We don't know, said All Might. It doesn't make any sense at all. What good does manipulating the system so a child can freely do hero work? The more I think about, the more it makes me think something big is going to happen. Hawks needed some clarification. Wait, how does the kid fit into all of this? I've met Demon Slayer and he seemed like an alright kid. To be honest, I can't really see that kid doing anything evil or even villain related. I agree with you, Hawks, after reading his file and history, not to mention all the people he's saved. I'm not all that worried about him. It's this so-called sensei of his. He has mentioned to a few people that he has a sensei that has taught him and has encouraged him to operate outside the law and to commit acts of vigilantism. I would wager that the boy might be being played and that his sensei has ulterior motives. It doesn't matter, said Endeavor, cutting in. The boy and his friends are committing acts of vigilantism and are working outside the law. I've read the boy's file and I agree he might be manipulated, but we won't know until we grab them. We know about Midoriya, but what about the other three? What do we know? Unfortunately, we know next to nothing about some of them. The most information we have gotten is from the mall incident from a while ago, said the detective, taking the floor as a picture of a girl with the heart hoodie appeared on the screen. The hooded is the primary one we don't know about. None of the pictures we were able to obtain had a clear shot of her face, so we weren't able to ID her. The most we know about her is that she is wearing some sort of a heart hoodie, but the letters are too faded, and that she has blonde hair coming out of the sides of her hood. We can't even properly identify her quirk because in a few shots it looks like she is doing gymnastics and tossing people around with some increased strength, but at the same time several criminals were found floating in the air for some reason. We believe she might have something to do with that, as the screen showed 3 men floating in the air, before switching to a picture of Eri drinking a milkshake. This girl, as far as we know, is named Eri. I've checked the face recognition records and she doesn't exist. There is no one named Eri around her age with a horn on the side of her head. We have no idea where she came from. All we know is that she's been sighted piggyback riding on Midoriya, and that she clearly has strength enhancement quirk, and a pretty good one at that. As the screen showed the video of Eri slamming the robber into the ground, some of the heroes present couldn't help but let out a chuckle. Unbeknownst to Eri, her slamming the robber became a viral video and was trending for a few days. This is all we have on these 2 girls, I'm afraid. What about the other one? Said Endeavor. The one with the gun. You mean the one that called you flame face? Said Pixie Bob, earning a glare from Endeavor and causing a few heroes to chuckle. She is a different story. Naomasa catching the room's attention. Her name is Ryoshi. She is Japanese but has spent most of her life abroad. No school record, no previous criminal record. She travels the world with her parents for her father's work. Matazo Ryoshi. He travels the world looking for animals with quirks. He has a pretty good record, but some of his movements have been questionable. But since these incidents are in other countries, we don't have much to go on. We can assume she's received training directly from her father, but we can't confirm cause we can't get in contact with him. From what we can tell, he's been in Australia for quite a while hunting some sort of monster gator. As for his daughter, we can confirm she has been in the Americas for the past few months. We confirmed with airport footage that she has been traveling alone for at least the past 5 months, going to various wild areas of North and South America for reasons we don't know, but the last sighting of her was at the Lax Airport in California, and that is her last sighting until the mall incident. There is no footage of her in any airport in Japan, so we have no idea how she got here. All other history and abilities are in the file we sent each of you, along with all the information we have on Izuku Midori and his abilities. After Naomasa ended his briefing, the others went silent for a moment. Is that it? Asked Burnin. Anything else we know about ye? I ran into her, said Rukyu. During my patrol the other day, I ran into her as a shop was being robbed. She was apparently across the street looking at a hunting shop. She fits the bill of a pro hunter, guns, jacket, wildlife expert, and when we spoke she said she was sad that I wasn't some wild beast cause my head would look good on her wall. Before throwing down a flashbang and escaping capture. She's unique to say the least, and after talking to her I can say she seems like the type that could be manipulated easily. Hawks then imagined a stuffed dragon over a fireplace. She wanted to turn you into a stuffed dragon. She sounds like a handful. Endeavor was getting angry. We have nothing. This is a waste of time. Come Burnin, we have more important work to do. As he and his sidekick got up to leave, Mandalay smiled. Okay Endeavor, you can leave, but you'll miss the part where we may have located their hideout. This stopped them in their tracks. Mandalay got up and walked to the computer. Night Eye stepped aside for her. We have lead where they may be. The day of the mall incident, a cab driver came to us because earlier that day he gave a ride to Yurioshi. She was dropped off right here. As she pulled up a map and moved the cursor over a section of fields with some trees, the driver gave us the cab footage and in Yi's own words. This was her destination, and this is the direction all of them go when they're done catching a criminal or when they're running away from a hero. So it's safe to say somehow around this area is where they are hiding. Can you confirm this? Asked Night Eye. Mandalay couldn't confirm if it was the place before Hawks chimed in. That sounds about right. Getting confused looks from the other heroes. A few months ago when I ran into Demon Slayer, I was able to tag him with one of my feathers. After I was able to get the villain Steel Angel to the police, I tried to track it down, and for a while it stayed in one place before it was either destroyed or someone cut my connection to it. Wait a minute, let me get this straight, said Night Eye walking up to Hawks. You had this information for months and only now divulging it. Yep. Night Eye took a deep breath. Why? He's a good kid. Honestly, I think he just needs a good talk. Not serving the rest of his life behind bars. Not to mention how much of a hassle it would be to bring him in and explain to the public why their vigilante who has been doing more work than a lot of heroes is in jail. To be honest, the main reason I showed up today was to make sure you guys didn't go too hard on the kid. If I had the authority, I would strip you of your hero license. Hawk's wing feathers began to twitch. Try it. Enough, said All Might. Hawks, while I understand where you're coming from, but withholding this information has only prolonged this confrontation and furthered spiral it out of control. Night Eye, calm down. I know where your anger is coming from, but now is not the time to act upon it. This seemed to calm the two heroes down, though the sound of the door opening caught their attention. Endeavor, where are you going? I have a location. I'm going to go and end this farce and arrest whoever is behind this, but please don't let my absence stop your meeting. Continue to waste time for all I care. As he and Burnin left, Rukyu stood from her seat as well. Come on, we all better go after him or else he'll burn down every field in the valley. Very well then, said All Might. This unsanctioned meeting has turned into a full-blown investigation scene. Let's move out. As the heroes moved out to solve the mystery of the Demon Slayer. Oh, clap. All right people, today is the big day, said Yushiro, getting everyone's attention. All the residents of the mountain were waiting in the living room. The doctors are in the medical wing and their assistants/guards are on standby in the waiting room. It's time for your last surgery, Eri. Really, said Eri on the verge of tears. With this the curse will go away. Yushiro knelt to Eri and held his hand out. With this the curse will become a gift for you to use as you wish. Eri took his hand as he picked her up. And Yushiro, she turned to look at Izuku. Izuku, don't worry Eri, I'll be right there with you through it all, he said reassuringly. Don't worry, Short Stack, said Yui. We'll be right here waiting for you. She's right, you've done this before. You'll do just fine, said Melissa. Eri turned to Tomo, who had yet to speak. Tomo, you'll come right? No, said Tomo cheerfully, nearly breaking the girl's heart. Because I'll be here making your favorites for dinner tonight. Eri began to drool a little. Desserts. Tomo smiled. Yes, Eri, lots of desserts. Yeah, yelled Yi, also drooling a little. Yi, calm down, you're drooling, said Melissa, trying to calm her friend down. And you two are helping me cook. Both girls stunned at Tomo's words. Don't give me that look. Izuku can go down and support Eri and master for all of us, and I know for a fact you two aren't going to be busy in the meantime. Well, I've hunted and cooked wild game, so I may be able to help, said Yi, trying to act confident. But do you really want Melissa in the kitchen? Hey, I've gotten better, said Melissa as her face slowly turned red. Toast doesn't count. Melissa was about to make a retort, but Eri beat her to it. You burnt the toast, remember, leaving Melissa to hang her head in shame. I can make a flux drive in my sleep, yet I can't even cook a slice of bread. It's okay, Melissa, I can't cook that well either, said Izuku. Beside, no one here can invent like you can. This made her feel better as she blushed a little. Don't worry, Melissa, you and Yi can leave the more complicated stuff to me, said Tomo. Though we better start or else we won't have it done by the time they're all done with Eri's surgery. She's right. Are you ready, Eri? Asked Yushiro, and Eri nodded. All right, let's get going. As he took Eri to the medical wing with Izuku in tow. I guess we should get started, said Yi as they headed towards the kitchen. Yeah, but Tomo, do you really need our help? Asked Melissa. I've seen you wipe up big meals all on your own. Do you really need our help? Well, to be honest, not really, admitted Tomo. But this is a good chance for the three of us to have some girl talk, freezing the two in place. Oh, so let me get this straight. This little brat was the one who changed Eri, said Overhaul, pointing at a picture of Yushiro in an airport, talking on his phone. I understand the confusion, but I assure you that brat is no child. He is one of our greatest enemies, said a raspy voice over an old monitor. This voice belongs to All For one of the, if not the greatest villain in the entire world. Believe it or not, that brat is even older than I. This surprised many in the bar. Really, Sensei? Why haven't you spoken about him before? Asked Tamura, putting down his PSP. He may be our enemy, but he doesn't work like other heroes. He works in the shadow and he mostly stays out of the way. You see, his power allows him to stay young forever, and so far nothing I or anyone else has tried can kill him. I believe his form of immortality has gotten to him, so he usually stays quiet and out of the affairs of heroes or villains. He seems content staying in his hole and working on his science projects here and there. It's because of this I didn't tell you about him early. I knew a few heroes that used the same combat style as our little demon slayer. But I didn't think Yushiro was involved, not until that internet clip showed up. So he has some way of controlling and changing other people's quirks? Asked Overhaul, finding a new interest in this Yushiro. Yes, he was there in the beginning and knows more about quirks than I or any other. The only reason I haven't hunted him down and imprisoned him in some corner of the world is because of his knowledge and his resourcefulness. I've sent several assassins to try and capture him, and only a few were able to find him. Those that did either never returned or came back with barely their sanity intact. He is not someone to take lightly. To top it off, he has the protection of several governments around the world. Tamura and Overhaul couldn't believe what they were hearing. This guy was sounding more and more like trouble. Now he sounds like a final boss, said Tamura, grinning. It sounds fun, meeting the final boss so soon. It makes killing him all the sweeter. Overhaul ignored Tamura and stared at the picture for a bit. Is this why you asked me to bring some of Eri's blood? Holding up his briefcase. Do you think it will kill him? No, I have something else in mind. Kurogiri, bring it out. Of course, said Kurogiri as he opened a portal. When the portal was fully opened, a man in a full bodysuit with a journey was pushed through with a body on it. This here is twice a new recruit to the league. Hey, who are you bastards? Divided by, oh come now, let's be friends. Divided by, he said in two different voices. Tamura and Overhaul looked at him for a second before looking at Kurogiri with raised eyebrows. He has a fantastic quirk, but he's not exactly all there in the head. Divided by, hey, there's nothing in my head divided by. You want to see it's completely full, said Twice, energetically pointing to his head. Twice, do you have it? Said All For One's voice. Yeah, got it right here, he said, holding up a beaker with a strange round object inside. It's a marble. No, it's not. Hey, Sensei, what's with the dead body? Asked Tamura, pulling up the cover on the journey, revealing a small charred human body. Disgusting. Overhaul. The child is not dead. It was put into a coma after a burning building collapsed on top of them. But that's not important. Right now we are going to try a little experiment. So I need you all to do exactly as I tell you. Overhaul, I would like you to bring a vial of Eri's blood out and give it to I would like you to replicate her blood. Overhaul begrudgingly gave Twice a vial of Eri's blood. Twice took a moment to look at the vial. Boss, I know my quirk is awesome and all, but I don't think my quirk can replicate this. I quote him, worthless. I know the limits of your quirk. Have no fear. Simply replicate the vial and put it in the beaker. Twice did as he was instructed. To the surprise of the bar, when the vial of blood disintegrated into slug, the blood came back when it made contact with the ball in the beaker. The ball began to glow a faint white color. Is it glowing? Asked All For One. Oh yes, said Overhaul, inspecting the beaker. What's the ball? A form of trigger, a drug that increases the power of quirks. No, it's an eyeball. Even though All For One couldn't see, he could tell everyone was staring at the TV screen. Now, without touching it, Overhaul, I would like you as quickly as you can break both the contents of the beaker down in the body of the child, and then merge them. Overhaul was a cautious man, and that side of him wanted to question this, but his curiosity wanted to see what would happen. He carefully took the beaker from Twice and put it on the body. He took his glove off and within a second he destroyed both and quickly reconstructed the body with the beaker now empty on top. Everyone was now silent as they stared at the body waiting for something to happen. A minute went by with nothing happening, when suddenly, the body suddenly jerked upright screaming. The child kept screaming as it fell off the journey and began to shake on the ground as if it was having a seizure. It slowly made its way to the wall as it was moving. Its skin was changing, slowly turning from charred to pale, revealing a young boy. He slowly got into a sitting position as his hair rapidly grew on his head. When he finally stopped screaming, he was sitting against the wall with a white mop of hair covering his face, breathing heavily. "The hell," said Tamura, "it healed him. Is this some sort of treatment you are making for yourself?" "No," said All for One quickly. "Ask him his name." "What is his name?" "Hey kid, what's your name?" he asked with no response. "Come on, tell us your name or else." Still no response. Annoying Tamura. "I don't suppose I can kill him." "No, have patience, Shigaraki." They waited as the boy's breathing slowed. The boy slowly raised his head, revealing his face that was covered with strange red markings. "So gonna tell us your name now?" The boy slowly opened and closed his mouth before quietly speaking. Rui," before falling unconscious on the ground. "Rui," said Tamura before looking at Overhaul. "Don't look at me, I don't know a Rui." They were about to ask All for One before he broke out into a hysterical villainous laugh. It was enough to scare some of the others in the bar. "Soon the ancient villains will rise. What will you do, sensei?" "Oh, okay, we've been here for over an hour minutes," said Burnin. "Nothing's here." She screamed right next to Naomasa and Endeavor. "I hate to give up too soon, but she's kinda right," said Lemillion to Night Eye. "We've checked all the nearby fields and the trees several times. Nothing's out here." Night Eye rubbed his chin as he tried to think. "All the heroes from the meeting have been searching the field where the cab driver's GPS showed where he dropped ye off. All Might and his sidekicks were still looking around the area with the pussycats." While he was thinking, Hawks, Fat Gum, Gran Torino, Sun Eater and Ryukyu approached him. "Did any of you find anything?" They all began to shake their head. "Sorry, Night Eye," said Fat Gum, "we couldn't find anything. Not even an underground entrance? Nothing." "It would appear that this is a dead end," said Ryukyu. "I couldn't even find anything searching the air," said Hawks. "I hate to say this, but this is a dot. The kid must have found my feather and ditched it here. Oh well, at least we're close enough to my favorite chicken place. I can pick some up on my way home." "Chicken sounds good," said Fat Gum, a bit hungry. "Hey, how does chicken sound, Sun Eater?" Sun Eater was paying attention to the conversation as he was looking upward. "What's Nijire doing?" They all look upward to see Nijire randomly pointing in the sky and doing some strange aerial movements. "I've never seen her do movements like that before," said Ryukyu. "Nijire, what are you doing?" she called to her intern. "Why are all of you walking in circles?" she called from the sky. "What? You're all walking in circles? What is she talking about?" said Ryukyu, getting confused. "Nijire, we're searching the area." "No, you're only searching the area over here. You haven't searched anywhere else," getting the attention of others while also confusing them. Hawks ascended into the sky to see what she was talking about. "You guys have only searched over here," she said before powering up her Nijire beam and firing a few short blasts in the sky. "Nijire, what are you doing? You can't just fire random blasts. What if you hit something by mistake?" said Ryukyu, trying to scold her intern. "Yeah," said Nijire, knowing she shouldn't do this, but it was the best way she could think of. "But you haven't looked this way," firing a beam in the opposite direction. As the beam flew, swearing, spiraling in the air in one direction before suddenly unraveling in midair and going in all sorts of different directions. "Something's here." Everyone saw the beam. Endeavor jumped and tried to rocket in the same direction. "Endeavor, wait," said All Might before rushing to stop him, catching him and bringing him to the ground. "Why are you stopping me, All Might? You're going to hit Burnin," he said as he moved out of the way, revealing Burnin. "What? How, you were behind me?" "I saw it, sir," said Burnin. "1 second you were in the air heading that way before somehow turning around." As the other heroes gathered around them. "I got this," said Hawk, scattering his feathers. In the same direction the Nijire beam went. All the heroes saw as the feathers changed direction before Hawks made them stop in midair. "Before you all ask, yes, I made them all go straight. I wasn't making them change direction at all." "Wait, don't call them back yet," said Mandalay. "Look, that one over there, it's still straight," pointing to a feather that hadn't changed course. Hawks called his feathers back as they went towards the feather that hadn't moved. Hawks began to send some feathers out in the same direction, noticing all the shifts in the air and changes to his feathers. "It's a path. It's about the size of a truck, but if we turn here and here, I don't think our directions will change." "Pixabob, search dog," ordered Mandalay. "On it," as Pixabob pulled a few dog-shaped earth dolls from the ground. The search dogs moved along the path a few meters ahead of the group before suddenly disappearing. "What, they're still there, I can feel them, but..." She walked forward a bit and reached her arm out before her hand began to vanish, rippling the air. She quickly pulled it out, revealing her hand was still there. "Oh yeah, that's something, all right." Without hesitation, All Might walked forward and disappeared through the air. before his head reappeared. It's some sort of giant invisible cloak. Come on, before disappearing into the wall. Oh, slam. The noise startled Melissa and Yi. They both turned to see Tomo had stabbed her cutting knife into the cutting board. Insects, she said with disdain and an angry look on her face. Tomo, are you okay? Asked Melissa. Is this about our conversation from earlier or? Tomo quickly gathered herself. Excuse me, there is something I must deal with, she said with her usual calmness. Tomo, said Yi, stopping her. Did something happen? Every word dripping with seriousness. Tomo smiled. Oh, don't worry, there's just something I have to do. So please make sure the meat is cooked, and Melissa, if you could please continue to chop the vegetables, please. As she tried to move to the exit only for Yi to block it. Yi staring at Tomo in the eye. Tomo continued to smile. Don't worry, Yi, I'll be fine, but here. A pen and notepad appeared in her hand. If I'm not back in 15 minutes, call this number. As she handed Yi the notepad. I'll be back shortly. As she left. Yi, what's going on? Said Melissa, trying not to freak out. Put a timer on for 10 minutes and be ready to move. Oh, I don't believe it, said Pixabop, staring at the mountain before them. It's real. Woohoo, screamed Ragdoll with joy. It's real. The missing mountain is real. Ragdoll, calm down. Now is not the time to get excited, said the tree line. Missing mountain, said Night Eye. What is she talking about? Before Mandalay could explain, Ragdoll ran right back to the group. If you look at any map that's over 200 years ago, it said that there is an extra mountain in Japan, but most of those are so faded you can barely make out the words, let alone the pictures. And if you look at any electrical map, it will tell you another story. This map, according to my phone right now, doesn't exist, showing everyone her phone. But it's right here. The legends and rumors were true. The missing mountain is right here. Several heroes took their own phones and supporting equipment out to confirm that there was no mountain here. Gran Torino looked up from his phone. A mountain that's been gone for 200 years. That timetable sounds interesting. This caught both All Might and Night Eye. The three had the same idea what was here. Naomasa, getting the detective's attention. Go and call the police for backup. This looks like we're going to need it. Okay, but how will I find the place? Follow my feathers, said Hawks. I left a trail behind just in case. I can order my earth creature to follow the path as well, said Pixabop. In fact, they already carved a path when we entered. You'd be surprised at how many times you can get turned around on rescue missions. With that, Naomasa nodded and left the way they came to call the police chief and tell him that they found something. Something big. HMPH, I'm disappointed in you, All Might, said Endeavor. Do you really think all of us need backup? No, but you never know what is going to happen. You have to expect the unexpected. Be ready for anything. Like a girl, said Hawks, pointing to the tree line as a young woman came to the edge of the tree line looking down on them from the incline. A really cute girl, making some of the heroes roll their eyes. None of you are supposed to be here. Leave now, she said, her voice layered with anger, or else I will have no choice but to beat each of you within an inch of your life. Next time, assault on Mount Sajiri.